Cell phone footage from the officer who fired the shots on the woman in Minnesota has been released, and it shows some interesting things. First, it shows prior contact with activists and Renee Good. It shows that they actually exchanged words, and you can clearly hear the impact on the hood of the car. In fact, we were talking with a former prosecutor earlier who said, ooh, wow, that's not good. So we're going to analyze this footage and go over what we're currently learning. But there's quite a bit more pertaining to the footage being released, protests moving across the country. We'll talk about that. New information on the ICE agent. And then bigger news, which I'd argue is actually much, much bigger, but isn't really. I suppose people don't want to talk about it. It's not as interesting, despite being more significant. The U.S. has seized its 5th oil tanker. So we're looking at dramatic escalation. We'll talk about that and a whole lot more. We've got a police shooting in Utah. More information about the individuals that were shot in Portland. Before we get into all that, my friends, we've got a great sponsor for you. It is Tax Network USA. Head over to tnusa.com/Tim. Do you owe back taxes or haven't filed in years? Now is the time to resolve your tax matters. With a national conversation around abolishing the income tax system, the IRS is fighting back and proving it's here to stay by becoming more aggressive than ever before. They're sending out more collection notices, filing more tax liens, and collecting billions more than in recent years. If you owe, the IRS can take your wages, bank accounts, Social Security, retirement, even your home. If you owe or haven't filed, it's not a question of if the IRS will act, it's when. Right now, Tax Network USA is offering a completely free IRS research and discovery call to show you exactly where you stand and what they can stop before it's too late. Their powerful programs and strategies can save you thousands or even eliminate your debt entirely if you qualify. Don't make a serious mistake. Representing yourself or calling the IRS on your own, waiving your rights can cost you could cost you more money. They are not on your side. Get protected the right way with Tax Network USA and start the process of settling your tax matters once and for all today. Call 1-800-958-1000 or click the link below for your free discovery call with Tax Network USA. Don't let the IRS be the first to act. Go to tnusa.com/Tim. And I want to stress, we are running out of these here blueprint model boards. The hand grenade and the 50 cal are gone. While you still can get them at boonieshq.com. We've got the Richie Jackson assault wine bottle. We've got the Jason Ellis battle axe and the Cody Mack Colt 45. Now, all of these, they're nearly sold out. There's a few left. There's a chance to get 1 out of 5 limited edition golden serialized versions of these. We also have the Step on Snack and Find Out 2.0, of which I actually think there's about 100 of these, much easier to get, and there will be 10 limited edition gold serialized. So check them out at boonieshq.com. Don't forget to smash that like button. Share the show with everyone you know. We actually have a couple of guests joining us tonight to talk about this and everything else. Ma'am, why don't you go first? Introduce yourself.
Yes, my name is Kaity, also known as Defender of the Republic. I live in the captured state of New Jersey. And on social media, I help educate and free the minds of the people online to the globalists, out of the globalist matrix.
And on the complete other side of that, would you like to introduce yourself?
I'm not doing anything as cool. My name is Erin, aka Straighterade. I live stream Monday through Friday on Twitch, YouTube. I cover politics, do React content, and yeah.
Right on.
That's great.
Tate, what's going on?
What is going on, Patriots? This is Tate Brown here holding it down on this beautiful, beautiful Friday. Happy to be here.
Hello, everybody. My name is Phil Labonte. I'm the lead singer of the heavy metal band All That Remains. I'm an anti-communist and counter-revolutionary. Let's get into it.
Let's get into the first story, and I got to be honest, probably the story that dominates the entire conversation. Though we do have big news. We've got this newly released video footage from the ICE agents who fired the shots in question. We're gonna start by playing the video for you guys so you can watch it for yourself. But it is changing a bit of the narrative, and there's a lot to debate on this video and what we're learning. So let's roll the tape.
Change our plates every morning, just so you know. It'll be the same plate when you come talk to us later. That's fine. U.S. citizen. You want to come at us? You want to come at us? I say go get yourself some lunch, big boy. Go ahead.
Out of the car. Get out of the fucking car. Get out of the car.
Oh!
Did he say fucking
He
bitch?
sure did.
Holy shit.
He just got hit by a car.
Yeah.
And she's dead.
You can't help that.
So let's play that again real quick. There's a couple things to point out.
Get out of the car.
Oh!
So here's a few things. First, I didn't catch this right away. I was watching this video, and Phil pointed out it sounds like the wife says, "Drive, baby, drive, drive." Try and listen. And I'm not sure that's exactly what she's saying.
Get out of the fucking car. Get out of the car.
Oh!
It sounded like she said, "Drive, baby, drive, drive." You can also hear his body slap the hood, or it sounds like it's hitting the hood of the car.
There's two things going on at the same time. It's body hitting the hood, and the first shot goes off at
The other thing is everyone's pointing out she's staring at the ICE agent the whole time. She
she's
turns
looking
her
right
head
at him.
and she's looking right at him. And then she shifts and she's looking right at him as she starts spinning the wheel. So this does change a few things. You can see her spinning the wheel before she accelerates forward, which is because the wheels are actually facing to the other direction. So she has to spin it around quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
This is not even 1 second. Let's play.
Oh!
It's about a second and a half, maybe.
Can you hear a squeal of the tires? Play it again.
Get out of the car.
Oh!
I don't think so.
Oh!
Just like that. About a second and a half.
Yeah.
So the interesting things to consider, prior contact. She's engaged by DHS already, and they're filming her vehicle, and she says, I believe it's here. Let's play it.
That's fine, dude. I'm not mad at you.
That's fine, dude. I'm not mad at you.
It's okay. We don't change our plates every morning, just so you know. It'll be the same plate when you come talk to us later.
He's collecting
That's fine.
evidence.
U.S. citizen. You want to come at us? You want to come at us?
You want to come
I
at
said
us?
go
You
get
wanna
yourself
come
some
at us?
lunch, big boy. Go ahead.
Out of the car. Get out of the fucking car. Get out of the car.
Oh!
Drive, baby, drive, drive. It sounds like she's saying.
You can clearly hear the other ICE agent telling her to get out of the car. She's
Oh, of course.
ignoring a direct command.
So we had a debate on this earlier, and we had a former prosecutor on who had argued initially that the first shot through the windshield is justifiable because you can see in all these angles he's being hit, but the second and third shot will be harder to justify. However, what is this? You're playing music? When we finished the debate, I didn't say anything. I just pressed play and showed it to him, and he went, "Whoa, yeah, that's that. There's not gonna be a prosecution. There's not gonna be a prosecution with this video footage." So I don't know what y'all think, but it sounds to me. I'll just give you my thoughts right away. Prior contact indicates the woman driving the car, Renee Good, was well aware that she was engaged with law enforcement. Mm-hmm. So when they approached her saying get out of the vehicle and she attempted to flee, this was not a panic. This was she knew she was engaged with law enforcement to a certain degree. And this cop walking around her vehicle filming, he's collecting evidence. When the other agent comes up and says out of the car, she's smiling and staring at him. And it appears, the wife says, appears is the wrong word, but it sounds like she says, drive, baby, drive, drive. I think that's going to give her criminal culpability. And I think the speed at which you hear the body hit the car and the shots go off are going to, this is a slam dunk for the agent. It's not good. It shouldn't have happened. But I think a few things to point out. The amount of time from him walking around the vehicle, she knows he's there. There's no reason for her to drive, and he's collecting evidence. So why is he there? There's a legitimate reason. The wife says, you want to come at us? You want to come at us? And then appears to say, drive, baby, drive, drive, instructing. Again, I'm not entirely sure what she's saying, but this is the argument that I think they would absolutely make and why this is not going to go. Mm-hmm. She can clearly see the agent is standing right in front of her and just a smile on her face. And then she goes for it. And she hits him, and you can hear it. And he shoots her. I don't see how this... Look, to be honest, this goes to prosecution because it's political. Because Minnesota, the governor, the mayor, the state prosecutor, it's political ideology. I think if we were in any sane reality where this was just on the merits, she hit a federal agent with her car.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, look, the argument that I heard this morning, actually, or maybe it was last night, but J.D. Vance was saying he's got immunity because he's engaged in a lawful stop. She knew that, like you said, she knew she was dealing with law enforcement right away. The guy came up and said, get out of the car. So she's trying to flee the scene. It is a pretty clear-cut case. when when her car contacted his body, then he's totally in the right to defend himself. So the idea, I don't think that this actually goes to trial because I think he's got immunity. I don't think the Justice Department's going to let it happen.
It's a state charge.
I think that the feds are going to be like, no, you can't.
Well, the state can bring the charges regardless.
Well, if he's got immunity, can they?
They're gonna try and move it to a federal court, citing immunity. This is what we were debating earlier. Sovereign immunity is a federal agent, but come on, does it matter what's true?
Well, I mean, it's always what you can prove in court.
No. We're not even there anymore. Like they didn't even prove that Trump committed a crime in the fraud cases. Does it matter?
I mean, to your point, no, I guess.
We are well beyond legal machinations. Now it's literally just exertions of authority and power.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think most people on the left are even going to see this video. Like, the resistance is
She's
already
sorry,
underway.
What do you think?
I think this only makes ICE look worse, in my opinion, for a few reasons. One, I don't think this is not me saying that Renee Good driving away from officers that have asked her to stop or have told her to get out and disobey and not just complying with their orders is a good idea. I'm strictly talking about, does this constitute a rise to the level of a reasonable person's understanding of what constitutes imminent threat or likelihood of death? I don't think so. I think this proves that it's very clear that she was attempting to do a 3-point turn or move away the opposite direction of the officer, not trying to accelerate towards him or charge towards him. I think that she had a calm demeanor, even as she's smiling, and yes, she's doing so like to taunt him, I suppose. But one, I don't think that constitutes a threat in and of itself. She's saying, I'm not mad. She's clearly turning right to get away from the officer. So I don't see where the kind of imminent death
What about drive,
threat.
baby, drive?
Did she say that, or did the other person
wife.
say that?
But it sounds like you're making a lot of assumptions about her intent. If she had just complied with the officer to begin with, we wouldn't be asking
Of course
all
I'm
of
making
these
But
questions.
even outside of that point, intent is completely immaterial. It's a vehicle is heading towards you. That's it.
I mean,
her intention, I think, was to flee. I think but it's reckless disregard for the life of the officer.
Do you
which
still
constitutes
think
an
it
assault.
was in the earlier debate we had? You said that you thought she was attempting to murder him with the vehicle.
No,
Based
no.
on this now, I
did
might
not.
be misremembering. What did
Yeah.
you say?
So what I said was yesterday in my morning show. So let's go back in time. The first thing I said was she's clearly attempting to flee, and she hit the officer. Then we went on the show and we analyzed all the footage, and I was like, you can see the tires spin out in his direction. So then in the morning yesterday, I said, I think she actually was intending to hit him. Then we reviewed more footage and other angles, and I said, I don't think she wanted to kill the officer. I think she was trying to flee, but didn't care if she did kill the officer.
Gotcha.
And so I think we're seeing the same thing right now. And this actually, I think, backs up what I'm saying. She's clearly trying to flee, but she's looking dead at the officer. She knows he's there. He walked in her car. She specifically said, it's okay, I'm not mad at you. She knows he's filming her. She knows he's around the car. Then you hear the other woman say, drive, baby, drive. Look at her. She's staring right at him right now.
Yeah, but
She's
does
looking
a stare rise to the level of a reasonable
Awareness.
person being able to think
awareness
that they're
that she's piloting a vehicle, and here's the timestamp. From 40 seconds is when the car begins to accelerate to
Right.
41. In 1 second, he's struck.
Well, I'm not disputing that it's accelerating, but she's clearly doing a bunch of turns because she's maneuvering the
Right, the point
vehicle's wheel all the way from the left to the right to
Her
turn away from
intent
him.
doesn't matter.
Of course it matters. The intent
It-
always matters
no, it
in
literally
these
doesn't.
cases.
No, it doesn't.
Yes, as far as factoring
law,
in if it's reasonable to believe that she has some sort of
No, it doesn't.
state of mind that she wants to harm this
it
person
seriously
or
doesn't.
hurt them.
If I pointed a gun at you, could you shoot me?
Yes.
What
But
if
that's
my
but that's
intent-
something that invokes per se self-defense, no? Because it's something that there is no way that you could behave with, like, brandish a weapon or point a gun at me.
Or
that's
accelerate a vehicle
non-threatening.
towards somebody?
No, that definitely does not fall under
He's
per se
2 feet from the
self-defense, no.
vehicle, and she accelerates towards him.
So?
He can't read her mind in that
Unless
second.
she's doing so with a weapon or threatening him
This
or
is a
doing
weapon.
so in the direction
This is
of
legal-
him,
this legally constitutes
I don't
a
believe
weapon.
that
In
would
law, a
trigger
vehicle is a deadly
per se
weapon.
self-defense.
It is legally a deadly weapon.
Says who? In
The
law?
law, precedent.
What law?
In court precedent and in law, this is a
Can
deadly
you name
weapon.
a case? I'm not familiar with a case that
Are
says
you
this.
joking?
I'm not joking. I'm not.
What
a lawyer.
was the
I'm
case
familiar
we
with
just
cases like
had where
this.
the woman rear-ended the the police in was it Minnesota actually, where the cop was found dead in the snow. It was
I don't
it was the
remember looking it
biggest. Okay, come on, guys. I don't know what you're doing. I gotta pull this
Because
out.
my
trying to Google it right now.
understanding is to the extent that a car or a vehicle can be used to trigger like per se self-defense, the individual has to have been
Karen Reed.
caught in the commission of a very serious crime prior
wrong.
to engaging with the officer.
They said Karen Reed struck her boyfriend with a car. That's a deadly weapon. A vehicle is like vehicular homicide has a name in law. Vehicular
I
homicide.
know there's such a thing as vehicular homicide, and I'm not saying that you can't use a vehicle to kill somebody, to injure somebody, but just using a vehicle around an officer that you're not complying with, around an officer that you're not complying with, doesn't necessarily constitute a threat. Absolutely not. This is definitely all of this like Monday morning quarterbacking that we're doing is exactly how
what Monday
it's
morning
going
quarterback?
to be.
I'm telling you a fact. Vehicles are deadly weapons.
By going frame by frame, like over literally an interaction that happens over just a few seconds.
Agreed.
This is how it's going to be decided
And a reasonable
in court
person
as
is
to
not in
whether
a
or not
second.
each individual action taken by the cops in this instance constitute justified self-defense or use of deadly force.
So she
and certainly
all right,
not
hold
for
on,
the
all right.
like even if I granted for the first one, the following two shots after that, when she's clearly turning away, which this video confirms, how is that going to hold up to
A vehicle
scrutiny?
can be considered a deadly weapon under certain circumstances, depending on how it is used in the context of the situation.
Yeah,
according to U.S. law, a vehicle driven by a person with the intent to harm someone is legally classified as a deadly weapon. The principle was emphasized.
The mic, bro.
The principle was emphasized by Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security Kristi Noem, who stated that a vehicle used to harm someone is clearly established law as a deadly weapon. Courts have consistently ruled that a car becomes a deadly weapon when it is used in a manner capable of causing death or serious physical injury. He's in front of the car. It is absolutely
not supposed to be doing.
It is absolutely capable of causing death or severe injury.
Wait, I'm not disputing that a car is capable of causing severe injury or death.
She's saying
I'm
it can
only
be a weapon.
disputing.
That's the context
And I'm
in
saying
which
it
it is
can
a
be
weapon.
But
Okay, so-
it's not assumed that it's a weapon in the
But it
same
hit
way if
him.
you brandish.
But
When it
hold
hit
on.
him,
But
was
this is
it a
just
weapon?
this is
I
just an
can't-
opinion
From
statement.
the analysis that I saw, that saying to multiple angles, it did not look to me like it hit the person. And the sound that's coming from this, because it's a first-person perspective, I'm not sure if that noise is because the vehicle touched him in
Come on,
any
we went over
way
this.
or
How did
made
his feet
contact
slide
with
backwards?
him. Because he moved back.
You think he
Or
did?
black
You
ice, I
think
don't
he
know.
did double-footed moonwalk slide?
No, I like if he was struck by the vehicle going even at that speed, wouldn't he have fallen over?
No.
Not necessarily.
He was going like a mile an hour and he's standing on ice, and his feet slid backwards.
There's a point where both his feet are off the ground at the same time.
So
No,
then-
I don't
then
think that's
she's-
true.
if-
Both
if-
his feet are on there, and both his feet slide backwards
Yeah,
because
he's
the vehicle hit him.
planted and he gets hit. His feet are planted and he gets hit. His feet slide back. You hear him get hit on this video. I mean, look, I'm not trying to poke at you, but I really think that you're just ignoring the facts of the situation.
This is the point I was making earlier about politics. It's not
literally
about
just a
what's actually
matter-
happening. It's
No,
just
it's a
what
difference
tribe
of
I'm in.
opinion as far as what inference we're drawing from the same set of facts. Because I acknowledge you hear a noise, but it's unclear to me from this angle and from the other footage that I've seen if that's actually the noise coming from the video is because the car is making contact with the officer or from something else.
What knocks his camera over?
I don't know.
He threw his phone in the air, pulled his gun out, and then caught his phone perfectly.
Like the third video that needs to be created now is syncing this POV with the body cam, because my understanding is this isn't the body cam, right? He was like
Cell
holding
phone.
his
He's holding his cell phone.
Yeah, you can see his reflection actually.
we need to see the cell phone,
Look
the
at that.
body cam, as well as the third person perspectives all at the same time to really get an idea of what happened.
So he's collecting evidence because she's obstructing. Eyewitnesses said that she was the ringleader obstructing. He's filming her license plate, to which this woman says, license plate ain't going to change. It's going to be the same thing. They are both engaging. He then goes around and is filming the vehicle. It's the second time he went around. She already knows she has an ICE agent filming her vehicle. Then a cop comes up and says, get out of the car, and she seeks to flee, creating... the point is this. We can argue our opinion on what a person would perceive to be reasonable. Only one thing matters. She created the circumstance. She's in commission of a crime. She's in furtherance of that crime. She stares dead at the officer. He sees it. Within a second, he's hit. He chooses to shoot. Even Dave, when I showed him this, he went, wow, okay, there's not going to be a prosecution. I think there will because it's political. But like,
On the subject of case law, though, didn't Dave, when he was on earlier, say that just because you flee the scene doesn't mean that the cops are able to open fire on you because you fled? It depends
unless
on,
you
like,
are
what
creating a
crime-
threat to someone else's life.
But what's the threat here? Because the threat that we've
Hitting the
pointed to
police
so
officer?
far
This woman right
verbally,
here?
I know, but how is
This woman right
Renee
here is
Good going to
standing
be
against the
responsible?
vehicle when the vehicle starts to move, and there's other people standing around. So there's something we talked with Andrew Bronco about called imperfect self-defense. So when I asked you the question earlier, if I point a gun at you, can you shoot me?
Yes.
Right? Yes. What if my intention is that it's a toy gun and I'm playing a game and I don't see you there? You can still
No.
shoot me.
nobody, no. If we're doing an objective analysis of what's reasonable, there's no reason to think that anybody who's brandishing a weapon in your direction or aiming it at you is going to be doing so with any other intention
gun.
other than. Oh, I thought you said a real handgun. If you said toy gun, if it's a toy gun, then no, that's
you
not
can still
reasonable.
shoot him. Yes, it is. It's called imperfect self-defense, meaning
Well, if you're asking, wait,
a reasonable
if you're asking
person.
me my opinion, I don't think so. If you're asking me what
How can you tell
the law has been
okay,
found,
we get
has
it.
found
How
to
can
be
you tell
illegal,
the difference
I
between a
wouldn't be
real gun?
surprised if
How
that's
can you
true.
tell the difference between a real gun and a toy gun?
It's probably difficult in a lot of instances.
Exactly. So that means.
Don't some have like orange caps or
I'm talking about
sometimes
that.
stuff like that?
So
Not always.
if I'm filming a movie scene on a property by myself, like I'm making a short film, and I have a camera pointed at me, and I have a replica gun, and you are walking down the road, and I'm going like this, and then I point at you, and then you see the gun pointed at you, you can't shoot me.
Okay, well then
Even
in
if-
those circumstances where it's like daylight, you're too far to be able to tell whether or not it's a toy
I
gun
didn't say
or
any
a
of that. You
real
could be standing
gun.
right in front of me.
Well, even okay, those are circumstances where I can see an argument for imperfect self-defense, as you're saying. Yes,
So okay, now
because what we're trying to analyze is the person that's using lethal force against somebody else and their state of mind. And it is rational to assume that if you have a replica gun that's being aimed at you from somebody who you don't know, that
so
think
the
that it was
point
a real
is,
gun.
even if there is no intent to kill the other person, the person with the replica gun has no intent to kill anybody, has created a real fear of death. And it's called imperfect self-defense, then, that the person who is in that line of perceived fire can kill you. And they will not be criminally charged for it because they didn't know it wasn't a real gun.
Okay, but
the
what
point
are
is
the
this.
circumstances here?
Let's get to it.
But you keep
Does
pointing
this
to like
individual,
the other woman saying,
does this individual
drive.
have a reason to believe he will be seriously injured by this car?
No,
Why not?
because she's clearly, and this footage shows it. She's clearly turning away, and she said, "I'm fine, dude," or "I'm." What did she say? Like, I'm
Well,
good,
what you said
or, "I'm
before
not
only
mad
proves
at you."
prior contact, doesn't prove intent of anything.
I'm not saying it proves
The
intent.
point is this
I'm saying,
officer
I'm talking, if you're asking me
had
about my
already been
analysis of
struck
what
from
we
the
can see
front
from that.
6 months ago and dragged 330 feet. So we're talking about his state of mind. Does he have a reason to believe that the vehicle will cause bodily harm? Yes, because it happened to him 6 months ago. He is filming evidence of a vehicle. They're antagonistic. He walks to the front. Lawful orders are given. And just like the last event where he gave lawful orders to stop, the guy hit him with the front of the car and dragged him, the same thing is about to happen. Not only do I believe that proves his state of mind is that there's a reasonable fear of harm, but it literally proves in the real world it does happen and did recently.
If trauma from 6 months ago makes you this trigger happy because of your PTSD, you honestly should not be on the field, in my opinion, as a cop. Because
That's
I
a
don't
fine
think,
argument.
I don't think a person that's subjected to what he experienced 6 months ago, every single person would react the exact same way that he's reacting in the same set of circumstances. I think he's being way too trigger happy, and the 2 shots afterwards and him saying "fucking bitch" after.
I don't know if that was him who said fucking bitch because
can't tell which
That is
that's the
true.
other cop.
I don't know who said it.
But you're correct. This guy should have been taken off active duty. After experiencing that trauma, they should have said, we're going to put you on desk duty following this incident. It's traumatic. That doesn't change the fact that whether he should have, that's an administrative decision, and we can agree it was a wrong decision, but it doesn't mean that he should go to prison or that this was a murder.
I don't know that it would necessarily mean it's a murder, because it doesn't. If it's trauma that is leading him to act this way, then maybe you could say it's a mitigating circumstance that means it's not malicious, but then I still think you could be on the hook for manslaughter or some sort of like reckless homicide.
Reckless homicide I don't think is a thing. Negligent discharge, negligent
Or
homicide.
like
perhaps.
negligent homicide, these sorts of.
I don't think you're gonna get. There's no way you're gonna get a cop on negligent homicide when he's been in active engagement with the subject for over 4 minutes and they've communicated with each other, and then when ordered to leave within a split second, she accelerates the vehicle. They're like tragic, shouldn't have happened. But let's just be clear: the circumstance is entirely at the fault of the woman driving. That's just it. She committed a crime. Listen, look. When we talk about fault, it doesn't. So let me put it like this: 2 guys go into a grocery store. They decide to rob one of the tills. They grab all the money out, and then his buddy turns around and runs and slips, falls down, cracks his head on the ground, and dies. His partner's at fault for that murder, and they will charge him with such. When you commit a crime, anything that happens subsequently is your fault. So the way we approach this in law is, did you commit a crime creating a circumstance that resulted in death, serious bodily harm? You'll be charged for it.
Yeah, the law
So the
makes, like,
woman
no distinction
committed
or
felony
whatever.
obstruction and felony evading arrest. And in the process, in fact, I would argue this. Renee Good, were she to have survived, would have been criminally charged. And I would actually argue, though it doesn't really make sense, she's responsible for her own death in the law by committing 2 felonies, which resulted in the death. In fact, I'd argue that
Wait, what are the 2 felonies that she's accused
felony
of?
obstruction and felony evading arrest. The first of which is 8 U.S.C. 1357. I'm not sure the code on the other one. This woman right here.
But the Supreme Court has ruled that, well, this takes us back to our earlier disagreement. I don't want to loop about how the Dave was saying that just because you're fleeing arrest and trying to evade it does not necessarily mean that you can an officer can use lethal force against you.
And that's an
Depends on the
argument for whether he
circumstance.
perceived a threat after the fact. But I think if it's 1 second, as he pointed out, it's always going to be argued that it was not 1, 2, 3. It was shots fired within the span of a second. More importantly, though, there's 2 things to consider. This woman potentially saying "drive, baby, drive, drive" is, I believe, should be criminal. If it is true, she said that. That's
Why
criminal
would
charge.
Renee Good be on the hook for something that somebody else said?
Renee Good?
Yeah, I don't
No, the
think
wife. If the wife instructed Renee Good to commit a crime, that's also a crime. That's illegal. That's a felony.
But why would Renee be on the hook for that?
Renee wouldn't be on the hook for that.
Regardless, do you think
Renee
that
would
she,
be on the hook for what her wife did. Her wife would be on the hook for instructing Renee to commit a crime.
Renee probably would have driven and tried to avoid arrest, regardless of whether or not the wife had said that. Do you agree? Yes or no?
Yes.
Then why is it such a big deal that the wife said "drive, baby, drive"?
Accomplice.
Because you're suggesting it's like an incitement of some sorts, but to me it
It
seems
is.
like she was
It's illegal.
primed to do it already.
But that again, well, we can look at it this way.
I don't know if it's illegal. I think it's dumb. Why?
She says "drive, baby, drive, drive" before she accelerates.
But
I don't think they're going to bring charges against her. But the other consideration is that the defense will argue there was a pedestrian standing to the right of the vehicle. I was standing in front of it. I perceived a threat to myself and others. The only reason, look, I think if they have a state charge, no matter what, like Dave was saying, this dude is going to get convicted in 2 seconds in Minnesota. 2 seconds. Like Derek Chauvin was innocent and they convicted him.
Don't you? Okay. What do you think about him calling her a bitch after? And also,
Well, we don't know
didn't
that he did.
Okay.
The other cop.
Assume take it as fact for now that he called her a bitch after.
Well, why?
And
I can't take that as fact.
Just for the sake of
Argument?
hypothetical,
Sure.
for the sake of the argument, right? Assume he called her a bitch, and also didn't he leave the scene after?
He did.
Okay. Does that change your analysis
No.
whatsoever as far as like
People people have said things that could be incriminating that are dismissed because it's considered like heat of the moment or high state of emotional. There are actually people who have gotten away with. I don't want to say
this
gotten away
guy
with murder,
has like PTSD and trauma.
Indeed.
So I'm like I've seen
which
body
actually
cam,
excuses him.
I've seen body cam footage of cops that have used lethal force on somebody who they believed was threatening their life, and afterwards they're freaking out. They seem like they're hyperventilating. They're like, "Oh my God,
Right,
what
I
have
don't
I
think
done?"
he called
Like,
her a bitch.
They're freaking the fuck out. I know, but for the sake of the argument, if
What-
he said that in combination with leaving the scene and seeming as
Yeah, no.
calm as he was to be able to continue.
There's too many assumptions there. We don't know. We have no
holding it-
facts. We
No,
know that
well,
he went to the hospital.
It's for the sake of the argument. I'm saying that if those
yes,
things
no.
are
I say
true,
no for the 4th time. No,
if those things are true,
How many times did I say
then
no? No,
that,
I said
to
no
me,
already. You don't got to ask
speaks
for the 5th time.
That speaks to his state of mind that he was not actually
No.
in true fear for his life.
No,
Why not?
you can't read his mind. You don't know what he's thinking.
I'm not saying I can read his mind, but I can draw inferences off his behavior.
You
and
can't
then
use that in
analyze
court,
that.
otherwise like tons of rape
you
victims
can't read
would-
Renee's mind, and you can't read the wife's
I
mind.
completely
You're drawing
agree,
inferences
which is why I did
off
not.
his-
I
No.
said her intent never mattered. All that matters is she creates the perception of a threat of bodily
how
harm.
can intent not matter when we're trying to ascertain whether or not somebody is acting in a way that an objective, reasonable person would perceive as menacing or threatening? We have to try
So you
to
agree?
understand what their intent is.
You agree that she was acting in a way that was menacing or threatening.
No, that's not what I said. Do you want me to repeat it?
Accelerating a
I said
vehicle
if we're
towards
trying
you-
to. I said how can intent not matter if that's what it's going to come down to in a significant way
You
when,
already
it,
agree
when
with
it's
me on this one.
argued legally.
If I point a replica gun at you, you can kill me.
Okay, in that circumstance, yes. But
no, no,
what,
hold
what
on.
I didn't agree
Even if you
to,
don't know my intent?
What I didn't
Without knowing my
agree
intent?
to,
Does my intent matter with the replica gun?
no, it doesn't. Because
why
like
would
you
it
said,
here?
you've created a circumstance where it's understandable that an objective, reasonable person could fear for their life without knowing, or without that, like regardless of what that
Yeah.
person's state of mind was.
What's the difference?
The difference is that a gun or a replica gun is something that to people, they will assume, oh, that's a real gun. That could put my life in danger
And
right
people
away.
don't think being crushed by a car will kill you, right?
No, people do think that being
Oh,
crushed
okay,
by a car
so-
will kill you. But
all
in
right.
this particular circumstance, I've not seen enough factors that to me rise to the level or create, set of circumstances where somebody could reasonably be fearing for their life. I see the opposite, if anything, from this body cam. I see
A guy
her
who was
turning
dragged
away.
6 months
I see
ago.
the other, what
Do you
sounds
think
like
he's
the wife.
traumatized?
Who?
This guy from being dragged 330 feet.
Yes, I already said that. I said
So-
I
so-
already said you shouldn't
okay.
even be on the field, and you
Agreed.
agreed with me.
I do agree. So do you believe this person had a reasonable fear of great bodily harm?
No.
Even though he had just been dragged and was traumatized, you said he was traumatized. So his trauma doesn't
Yeah,
factor in his fears?
No, it does factor in his fears.
So
but
why
I'm saying
would
that
he be
even-
traumatized but simultaneously not fearing getting injured? How does that make sense?
No.
Tra-
I thought
the
the question meant-
traumatized implies he has an irrational reaction due to a past event.
Okay. I thought that you asked me. Can you what was the question that you had initially asked me?
Do you think he is traumatized from being dragged 330 feet and
Okay,
being hospitalized?
that I agreed to. Correct. Yes.
Yes. Okay. If someone is traumatized, do you believe they will act the same way as someone who was not traumatized?
No.
So then this individual who was previously injured by being hit front on by a car and dragged, do you think that person may, through their trauma, which you agree he has,
They maybe, or
see
they
a
might
similar
just be.
situation?
That also doesn't preclude maybe, but it also doesn't preclude the possibility of them just being impulsive or
But what is-
angry.
so the point-
we're
the point ultimately is-
presupposing that trauma is the thing that's guiding his response. Could it be something that's guiding his response? Yes. I even think that could be
I'll
likely
be honest,
given the past event
I think
that he
you're just
went through.
saying things to be on a tribe.
What do you mean?
I think you're literally just using sophistry and saying whatever you have to justify why you don't like ICE.
Well, I
Like
don't
it
like
wouldn't,
ice. I'm
it
not
wouldn't
hiding
matter
that, but
at all whether he did or did not do anything right, wrong, was traumatized or otherwise. You are going to make some kind of sophistry argument as to why it's wrong.
what is sophistry that I've engaged in here?
I mean, we literally have a woman who committed 2 felonies.
No. What is sophistry that I've engaged in?
Okay.
Not a set of circumstances that we looked at. What did I
Do
say
you
that
understand-
constitutes sophistry?
You making up fake arguments to justify claiming a guy who's traumatized.
By fake arguments, you mean a hypothetical?
He's simultaneously traumatized but not fearing for
By
his life.
fake arguments, you mean hypothetical, correct?
No.
What do you mean by fake arguments then?
So the sophistry is the implication that you're using arguments to mislead.
yeah,
And
you're
like agreeing he's traumatized, which presents an irrational reaction relative to the general public,
Which could
but that
present
in
an
this
irrational
circumstance he's not acting within the trauma. How could he? So the point is,
but
if
I
we
never
agree,
said we know for sure that that's what we're doing. I'm saying that it's
Yeah, you're
likely
using sophistry.
that how is that sophistry? That's just not what
because
sophistry
literally,
means.
if you look at the video, a car accelerates, you hear a noise that sounds like he's being hit, and she's staring at him, and you're like, nah. Like, okay, look, any
Okay, that's a
reasonable
disagreement.
person
That's
watching
not
this,
sophistry.
this is the
when
political
you play
divide in this
fast
country.
and loose with different terms to argue for a particular end disingenuously.
and that's what you're doing.
No, what do you think that I don't genuinely hold this position?
Yes.
I would just say if I thought that
No,
this was
because
a
you want to fit
justified
in. You're scared of
shooting,
getting canceled by liberals.
why
You'll
would I be
lose
canceled
viewers.
by
You'll
liberals?
lose money. So you're going to say whatever you have to justify this.
I feel like you're doing that.
No, I have no
Like,
problem saying Trump shouldn't have invaded Venezuela and Trump lied about him getting run over.
You've already said that you, in this circumstance, wouldn't have done it and that it's a tragedy, right?
Yes, right. Sounds
Okay,
like I'm
but yet,
consistent.
nonetheless, you are saying that it was justified.
This guy who suffered a trauma previously after being hit front on by a car and dragged reasonably feared the same thing would happen as one was committing 2
And you
felonies.
said in the same
and he
set of
shot at her.
circumstances, even if you had that trauma, you still wouldn't have done this, right?
I didn't say if I had that trauma.
I thought you had. I thought it was
I
predetermined.
said I've
that
experienced life or death situations. And so when I look at something like this, I relate it to the experiences I've had. And I said, I probably wouldn't have shot. My point is,
So
if we
even
agree
you
he had trauma,
that's
then he
assuming that you had
perceived
the
the threat.
trauma. That's assuming you had the trauma from 6 months ago.
You can't assume it if you've never.
Yeah,
had
how do you assume an
Yeah.
irrational
No, because
reaction
you're
to
trying to put
circumstances?
yourself in the same set of circumstances as this individual. So all else being equal,
The answer
but
is
instead
simply
of this
yes.
individual, it's you.
That's the point I'm
with
making.
6 months of trauma. You're
No,
saying
no, you don't
that
gotta
you
keep saying
wouldn't
it.
have
I've already said
reacted
yes.
any other way.
I've already said yes.
So yes, you would have acted the exact same way if you'd had the traumatic event 6 months earlier.
The
You couldn't have
presumption
done anything
is
else.
so the presumption is the reason why I am saying he is acting this way is because I believe any person, any rational, normal person who suffers a grievous injury being dragged by a vehicle after being hit head on
6 months earlier.
6 months earlier, very recent, would have the same reaction, which includes
Including
myself.
yourself.
Because my
That's where
perception
we
of behavior is based
disagree.
on my perceptions. It's projection. I believe that were I to have been rammed and dragged, I would react similarly to this cop. Yes.
So
I
rammed
think
and dragged 6 months earlier.
that's very recent. That means he was in the hospital 4 months
I'm
ago.
not saying it's not recent. I'm
I
just
know, I'm saying, like,
underscoring that
fresh in
when you
his
say
mind.
rammed and dragged, you're not referring to anything that happened around this incident. You're talking
He was
about something
rammed.
that happened 6 months before.
He was rammed.
The vehicle made contact with him.
Yes.
Maybe. from what I saw, I did from the New York
Even the
Times
New York
analysis
Times
that I
said
saw.
it appears he was struck.
That was not. I didn't read.
They literally
the
said it.
I didn't read the editorialization or listen to.
No,
it.
no,
I
they
just
literally
viewed it.
said from the video it appears the
I
officer
know.
was struck.
I'm not disputing that. Maybe they said that. I'm saying I only watched it. I didn't listen to any of the editorialization. I didn't have the captions
what
on.
is that? What are you talking
so
about?
just from the consolidated footage of them showing the two angles simultaneously, I didn't listen to any of the way that they described the footage. I only viewed it on mute. And from what I saw, it did not look like the vehicle made contact with the officer, but it might
See,
have.
you're just lying.
Why?
Like, come on. His feet slide on the ground.
Do we want to pull up the New York Times footage?
Let me
Show me
let me show you his fleet.
which frames, and I will be willing to concede.
I
if
already
if I
showed
see
you
it make
this.
contact, well then show it
It's
again.
wild.
I'll be more than willing to concede if it makes contact, if it looks like it's made contact with the officer.
You now have 4 videos which show contact was made with the officers, and you're like, nah, but I just don't believe
Then
it.
it should be easy to prove me wrong right now.
I've already
because that
showed you
was
the
just-
videos.
You can
Put
show
one
it to
in
me
the-
again because I did not see at any point
Put one
a
in the
clear
Slack.
instance where it touched him. No, wait. No.
Hold on.
The
Watch.
New York Times one. I thought you were going to pull up the New York Times one.
Watch the magic officer's feet slide on the ground right here. You see his feet?
We're not supposed to be looking at the
Man,
feet.
he's better than MJ at that moonwalk. Look at that slide. Look at that slide. 1 foot off the ground, 1 foot sliding backwards because he can shift his weight. Like, you ever see the 1-inch
Are you going
punch
to
from
pull up
Bruce
the New
Lee?
York Times footage?
What
now?
about the New York Times footage? What's the difference? This is the footage of the
The
incident.
New York Times shows both angles on top of each other at the same time.
Is this not footage of the incident?
I'm not saying it's not footage. I'm
You want me to
asking,
play an
can you pull it up?
editorialized video where they're
You
arguing?
don't have to listen to the editorial. You can play it on mute.
You want the video itself is editorialized.
I want you to pull up the video and you
Okay,
can play it
I'll
on
pull
mute.
up their source videos for you
Why won't you play that video?
because it's editorialized because they
okay,
edited the footage.
I think now you're the one who actually won't show it because it might
I've already
pull apart
showed it.
your
I showed
argument.
it 15 times.
Then showed it for a 16th
You're
time.
asking me to pull up editorialized, edited video to prove your
Correct.
point.
Sure.
How about we pull up the
Not
source
to prove
material?
my point. To
So why-
disprove my
what's-
point.
what's the-
Because you're saying
what's the problem
that
with the source
there's
material?
contact between
What's the problem with the raw video?
There's nothing wrong with this, but
Okay,
we can
so-
get another angle from the New York Times one that
No, it's
shows
right
both.
here.
Why
Look,
won't you?
take a
Why
look
won't
at-
you show the New York Times
I
one?
pulled it up.
Why won't you
I
show the
pulled
New
it
York
up.
Times one?
I
Why won't
pulled
you
it up.
show the
Is
New
that
York
good?
Times one?
I did.
Tim, why won't you show it to me right now and show exactly
on the
where
screen.
the car
It's on the
made
screen.
contact with the officer?
It's on the screen.
I think it's because you know that there's a good chance that maybe
Guys,
it didn't,
am I losing
and
my
you
mind?
won't show
No.
it.
Did I pull the video up just now?
This is not. Is this the New York Times one?
Yes.
No, the New York
What are
Times
you
one.
talking about?
The New York Times one is the analysis that shows.
Oh. You're asking me to pull up the analysis editorial video.
Yeah.
Oh,
the one that
oh.
shows the two
See,
on
my
top of each
presumption
other.
was you wanted the video they used showing the other angle because you said you're showing me one angle, so I pulled it up.
Oh,
You're
so you were
asking
just
for the
confused.
editorial.
Okay, so you're just confused. No, I'm asking for the
The
New York
editorial.
Times one that shows
Dude,
the
let-
two
let's just-
angles synced at the
Okay,
same time.
I get it.
So you
Let's
can
slow
see
down,
both.
slow down. Do you want me to pull up the editorial?
Sure.
Okay, I'll pull up the editorial.
You
I
can
thought you
pull
were
up
asking
what,
for the
what you
other.
describe as the editorial. Sure.
It's literally an editorial. It's called an editorial.
You can pull up what you describe as the editorial. Sure.
The literal definition of a video produced by a news organization is called an editorial.
Okay, you can pull up what you describe as the editorial. Yes, that's what I'm saying.
Oh my God. See, this is sophistry.
No, this is
It
being precise with my language and
No,
trying to speak with
no.
clarity.
The definition of the production, it's not an insult, it's not derisive. The definition of a piece of media produced by a news organization is called an editorial.
Sure.
That's the word. You're like, you call it that. No, the dictionary does.
Yeah, saying
Do you
what
wanna
you
pull
call
up
is
the
like the
video?
left-wing version of the fifth, pleading the fifth.
So
what you
here's
call.
the New York Times editorial. That's the definition of what it is called. This is not the source material. These are the distinct words we use to describe things. Source material is the original video footage that was released. The editorial is when they combine two videos and make a statement about it.
Okay.
You want to watch the New York Times statement about
yes,
it.
let's
I
watch.
have no problem with that. So we'll pull that up and go to the point where they, here we go. See, here's the funny thing. This is the video I pulled up when you asked me to pull up the New York Times.
Can you go to the moment where they
I
show?
will. I will.
Okay,
I just want to make sure this is clear that you literally just tried to argue the same video I pulled up, which is on the New York Times, and that I pulled up was not the video. This is sophistry. You're just lying. Now I'll play the video for
President Trump
everybody.
and others said the federal agent was hit by the SUV.
And I'm going to mute the commentary because I don't know why you want me to play an editorial.
I said you can play it mute. We're only trying to.
And I can't even
ascertain-
remove the words they've included that are lies.
You can turn off closed captioning in the bottom right corner of any YouTube video.
Oh, there you go. So there's the officer getting hit. They circle him even. I'm sorry, they square him. Let's be precise. They square him. And now they show two videos of him being hit. Okay. So what was the
Can you
point
go
you're trying
back
to make?
and slow it down? It's not clear to me if he actually
Absolutely.
is.
Let's slow it down as much as we can. Where's
Sure.
the speed? Oh, playback speed. Let's do the slowest possible.
And keep in mind,
Ooh, I can
the
do
statement
custom.
that Christy Noam said is that this person like ran over
And
the
I
officers.
said, well,
and
Trump
they
did, and Trump
still-
lied.
And Trump and Christy Noam both said that. Have they retracted those statements?
Play the
Do-
video.
do-
Stop changing the subject.
Do you want me to tell you that Trump
This
lied? I'll
is
say
the
it again.
Same subject.
Trump lied. He put out a statement the guy got run over, and that he's lucky to be alive,
But
and
he
that's not
never
correct.
retracted the statement.
Yeah,
then.
that's a bad thing. He should. Watch the feet slide. The moonwalk.
There he
Oh,
gets
look at that
hit.
slide. Man, he's
like
better
a-
than MJ.
It's like
He
a
was
wedding.
hit.
Yeah.
Like
Like a
to
wedding.
deny that he was hit is to deny what you're looking at.
It might have made contact with him. It's unclear.
Come on.
This is what sophistry is. You understand?
No,
Like,
I really-
okay,
I'm saying- no,
How
no.
did his feet slide? How did his feet slide?
Because maybe either he could have moved back, he could have moved back suddenly or angled his body,
How?
he could have tripped backwards. You're
One foot is
assuming-
off the ground, 1 foot sliding.
It's
How
also-
do you do that?
It's also possible that the vehicle made contact with him.
This is like in the NFL when your team makes the game-winning catch and then they do the replay and it's obviously at a foot out of bounds and then they're like, well, I don't know, maybe
I don't
like a
know.
shoelace
Is
was
it
in
really,
bounds.
you know,
Like, oh, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't want to be derisive or anything, but it really is that you're just denying the evidence right in front of your face.
Yeah, for political reasons.
We brought up the thing that you
His
wanted
foot
us to
sliding.
bring up.
But
You
this
see
is-
his foot slide. The other one, you see the car contact his body, and he's pushed out of the way because the car contacts his body.
It's not even
He
clear
was
to me that his feet are sliding.
unquestionably
He could have
hit.
been jumping back.
He wasn't jumping back. Look, the foot's sliding.
No.
'Cause this
Tim
is
asked me how could he have moved this way were it not for the car touching him, and I'm saying it's possible he could have jumped back to avoid coming in contact with the vehicle.
Yeah, there could have
Can
been
you
like
moonwalk?
a,
That's
there could have been like a
ridiculous.
seance nearby.
Because-
or-
Sure, yeah.
Jumping backwards while keeping your center of gravity stable and sliding in front of the ground is very difficult. and I
this is
can't
just
do it.
clown
Tim, it is
shit.
Minneapolis. There's a lot of Somali black magic. Maybe a spell was cast and it like slid him back. I don't know. There's a lot of possibilities on the table.
I mean,
here.
his feet are sliding.
But I'll even grant, even if it made contact with him, that still to me does not rise to the level
Oh,
of
here
an
we go.
imminent
Being hit
threat
by a
of
car.
death.
we can hit cops now. This
car
isn't-
is coming in contact.
I mean,
with
to be
yes,
honest,
that
the
doesn't
left
necessar-
always accepted that.
That's
doesn't
true.
mean.
Let's listen to what the New York Times has to say.
And how does shooting somebody in a car stop?
Now we're
Oh,
moving
wait,
the
wait.
goalpost.
How?
Because you're like talking about, well, how does shooting someone in a car? But it doesn't
The
matter.
entire-
The point is, he was hit by the
Okay,
car.
it does matter because his training
So
and
the
his
federal
policy,
agent was
as
hit
per
by-
DHS and ICE, is that you're not supposed to be in front of a vehicle, and that shooting at an individual in a vehicle does not actually eliminate a deadly threat coming your way from
That's not
somebody
what it
in a
says.
vehicle.
It's that you can't, and we went over this with Dave, who pulled up the actual exclusions, and it was you can only use lethal force against a vehicle if the vehicle is being driven in a way that constitutes a threat of great bodily harm or death
This
to you
is
or
from
others.
NBC. The way ICE officers approached the vehicle involved in today's shooting was counter to their training, a senior Department of Homeland Security official told NBC News.
Hmm?
The official said ICE officers are trained, 1, never to approach a vehicle from the front, 2,
didn't.
to approach vehicles or possibly armed people in a tactical 1, 90-degree angle to prevent injury or crossfire,
Yep.
3, not to shoot at a moving vehicle, 4, only to use force if there is immediate risk of serious injury or death. ICE officers are also instructed that firing at a vehicle will not make it stop moving in the direction of the officer.
And what was that part about if it's going to cause bodily harm or death?
Only use force if there's immediate risk of serious
Which,
injury
once
or
again,
death.
we're back to
Just
all of this
got
just
hit.
being
But again,
opinion
ICE
statements.
officers are instructed that firing at a vehicle will not make it stop moving in the direction of an officer. So
Let's-
again, my
let's-
point was,
by
even
all
if the car
means,
made
say
contact
the officer is
with
retarded.
the officer,
That's fine. He's
my
a
point
retard.
is, even if the car
Retard with a
made
gun.
contact with the officer, that does not mean that shooting at that person or using deadly force in this instance would be justified.
Right.
And then
So-
this is
so the
still
point
not
is he's
even
retarded?
getting. This is still not even getting to the fact that he shot her 2 more times after.
in the span of
From
a second.
the side, yes.
Yeah, in the
Yes,
span of
later
1
in
second
time,
after getting
correct.
hit, he
His
goes
time is
1, 2,
linear.
3. Right?
Trump and others said the federal agent was hit by the SUV, often pointing to another video filmed from a different angle. And it's true that at this moment in this grainy low-resolution footage, it does look like the agent is being struck by the SUV.
It looks like.
It does indeed
looks
look
like
like
it,
he's being
guys.
struck
What did
by
they
the
say
SUV.
after?
That he wasn't run over. Agreed. Trump was wrong or lied when he said he was run over. That never happened.
Right.
But it does appear in this video he was struck, and I would also say his feet sliding on the ground basically prove it. There's no way to do that. That's just not reality. His left foot is off the ground and his right foot is sliding. Okay? And then let's just do this because I love doing this. Oh, look, her tire's spinning out while pointed at the officer.
You can see the tire spin and the weight shift.
And
The
it
ass
doesn't,
end
but
goes
it,
down.
and it doesn't even knock him over. This doesn't speak to the fact that he's
have to
amazing
knock
for
him
being
over.
able to maintain a center of gravity. It speaks to me that if he made contact with the vehicle, and I'll grant for the sake of the argument that he did, then it was at such a low acceleration that to think that he was at risk for imminent death or severe bodily injury is unreasonable to me.
I think there's two different factors at play. One, political tribesmanship results in, and this is true of conservatives, but it's slightly less. I call it like 60-40, 40-60. There are a lot of conservatives that will say Trump can do nothing wrong, like literally whatever he does. And it's just like, that's stupid. But it's 40% of the time. And that's because the Republican Party has historically been a little bit smaller than Democrats, and Trump only wins with this moderate coalition that eventually came in. So people like me or Elon Musk or Joe Rogan, who are going to call out Trump in 2 seconds when he does dumb things like, we shouldn't have gone in Venezuela. I think that was a mistake. We'll see how that plays out. Trump is lying about the cop being run over. It's clearly not true. But then there are people who are going to be like, no, Trump is right. Doesn't matter. On the left, it's an inversion. It's more likely they're going to just say whatever they say in the majority to defend the liberal tribe. And I think this is related to cancel culture because the right is less likely to cancel you and the left is more likely to cancel you. So why is it so difficult for us to get liberals to come on this show or any other show? Because they're going to get canceled after the fact just for associating. And conservatives don't do that. So liberals are more likely to just say, I will say anything to fit in with the tribe so I don't get canceled. Whereas the right has that faction, but is less likely to do that because you're going to have middle of the road people who say Trump is lying. I don't care. You can believe whatever you want, but Trump is lying.
You think that the majority of like moderate voters agree with your analysis over mine?
Yes.
Well,
Yes,
no.
absolutely.
I'm not. I would say right now, I honestly don't know. This just happened, and we don't have a public perception. What I would say is we tend to find when you look at wide-scale polling that independent voters, swing voters, they tend to align with, like my views tend to align with theirs quite a bit. So you'll notice that. Let me pull up civics as a good example. And you can see where the Trump bias is, and you can see where the liberal bias is. And it's funny how Democrats respond to things and independents. Oh, actually, is it going to let me do it? Okay, yeah, let's try national economy. So you can actually see the hilarity of this in the hyperpartisanship of everybody. You go to Democrat. How would you rate the condition of the national economy right now? Take a look at this. For some reason, on January 20th, January 2021, you immediately have this shift. Where are we at? Party Democrat. So in 2008, you have a fairly good 45%, 26% fairly bad, 30% very bad, 11% unsure, blah, blah, blah. Right around election, the opinion on the economy inverts. And now the economy is very, very bad. Okay, well, that doesn't make no sense. And this is January 20th. And to be fair, COVID, right? So let's jump to the front where we can see January of 2025. Because to be fair, January of 2020 wasn't an election year, it was COVID. So that I should clarify, that's where things kind of make sense. It was a Trump term. Democrats actually thought things were kind of okay. Well, hold on there, gosh darn minute. Now we're in Biden's term. In Biden's term, 53% of Democrats say the economy is fairly good. The moment Trump is inaugurated, they now claim the economy is very bad. That's not a real opinion, is it?
I mean,
Like,
it's a real opinion, but it's biased. Yeah.
It's not a real opinion.
It's not a real
It-
opinion.
It's not a real opinion. It's just me saying I hate Trump. Because you can't be like, a week ago the economy was perfect. A week later the economy is bad. That's a lie. But hold on, don't get me wrong. I got Republicans for this one too. We ain't playing no silly games. Republicans are the exact same. That's not exactly the same, but it's similar. Take a look at this. During Joe Biden, all the Republicans said the economy was very bad. And then you get election day and it starts to drop. Right at inauguration day, it drops. 46 very bad, 41 very bad. So we've got 87% of Republicans in the economy is somewhat bad. The moment Trump gets in, it flips. And now it's 60% fairly good. That is not a real opinion. And you can see the trends. When a Democrat's in office, it's bad. When a Republican's in office, it's good, because this is fake. We go to independent, and what do we find? It more likely aligns. Now, this is where you get real opinion. Around COVID, there's an inversion. Makes a lot of sense. You don't see the harsh turns that you'll end up seeing during elections among independent voters. And what I would say right now, as I've said for the past 7-8 months since Trump has been in, the economy is not good. And the reason Trump is taking actions on institutional investors is because he's trying to get home prices lower. Earlier in the year, he said that he wants home prices to be high because boomers like having their equity in homes. And I said the economy is bad, Gen Z's screwed, and independent voters tend to follow that. So I would argue that the point is, Republican Party historically smaller than Democrats. That's why I call it 60-40, 40-60. Democratic Party larger. What that means is, on left-aligned individuals, they tend to, in the majority, and for Republican-aligned individuals, they have their cult, but their coalition has independent voters. That's how Trump ended up winning in 2024, largely suburban housewives and working-class people in swing states. That's the independent voters that are pointing this out. So I can go to a conservative and I can go to a Trump supporter and say, yeah, Trump lied. Trump said outright the guy got run over. He clearly did not get run over. In fact, I doubt he was injured at all. Yeah. Maybe a minor ankle sprain if you want to be in the most extreme. No. It doesn't change whether or not he felt he was about to be crushed, because we had that Amy, I forgot her name, the officer in Baltimore who was crushed in a second by a vehicle standing in the same place.
And I'm a major Trump supporter, and I agree with you, Tim. I would get canceled and I don't care, right? And so there's a faction of people that are out there and just telling the truth about how they feel. If I were to care about what other people think, then it's not really my opinion anymore. And that's the problem that I'm seeing with the social media mob, is that they're more looking toward, oh, what are my followers going to think? Or how do I get more followers? And that's the issue.
Let's jump to this story from CNN. What's behind the highly unusual move to block Minnesota officials from investigating the ICE shooting? Wait, what? This is actually pretty interesting. Uh-oh, CNN's giving the business. We're gonna have to give CNN the business. I thought I already gave them the business, but let me log in real quick. I'm logging in. That's what I'm doing to make sure that I'm logged in. All right, here we go. I thought we already logged in. They say mutual distrust between federal and state authorities derailed plans for a joint FBI and state criminal investigation into Wednesday's shooting of a Minneapolis woman by ICE, leading to the highly unusual move by the DOJ to block state investigators from participating in the probe. The Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension said Thursday that after an initial agreement for the FBI to work with the state agency, as well as prosecutors from the U.S. Attorney's Office in Minneapolis and the Hennepin County's Attorney's Office to investigate the shooting, federal authorities reversed course, and the FBI blocked the BCA from participating in the investigation. You know what I love about this? We did a debate show earlier, and I said this was going to happen. Mm-hmm. I said Trump's not going to let him do it. And Dave said, it's a state-level thing, they'll do it. And I'm like, yeah, but they're going to pull the guy to the state, and there's not going to be charges. So let me just put it like this. I don't care whose side you're on. I don't care if you're a liberal or conservative. Just understand what time it is. The feds are not allowing a criminal investigation from the state of a cop who shot a lady. It doesn't matter if you think he was justified. It doesn't matter if you think he was not justified. The point is the federal government and the state governments have bisected and are now at odds with each other. Where does that go? Like, is there, Phil, in your mind, a circumstance by which the federal government apologizes and says, let's come back together, boys?
I think that's probably unlikely.
Yeah. So what happens next? And I mean, it's not a rhetorical, it's not a joke question. I'm not trying to make someone scream Civil War. I'm literally asking, if the federal government is now saying to the states, we're not going to work with you on these things, what does the state do? And then what is the next thing that's going to happen?
Legitimately, I think the state stands down. I don't think that I don't think they push the issue. I don't think that they're in a position where they have the ability to do it.
You think this guy won't be prosecuted?
No, I don't think so.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
What do you guys think?
I think they'll try to bring charges against him.
I agree.
Absolutely.
I think the state is going to try to bring charges.
They may try, but I don't think that he's going to actually stand. I don't think it's.
No, I agree. He won't stand trial. I don't know for sure, but I would say the probability lies with the federal government's not going to let them prosecute this guy.
Yeah, that's
But this is getting weird.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't see a world the DOJ just lets them try to railroad this guy.
The
They learned their lesson in 2020 after Chauvin, like the state and everybody.
But what are the ramifications of outstanding criminal charges in Minnesota against a cop who shot and killed a person, and the federal government being like, we're going to protect him from prosecution?
Trump and Vance have stated many times to law enforcement, we have your back and stuff. So I don't know what it means for. And
recently.
Yeah.
Specifically, I believe.
Yeah. I don't know what it means for overall for the relations between the federal government and the state of Minnesota. But it's not going to.
I'm not even talking about Minnesota. Other blue states have reciprocity. So technically, every state has criminal reciprocity with every other state, but not anymore. Florida would not extradite this guy.
Nope.
If this cop comes to Florida to lay low, and Minnesota brings charges, ain't nobody in Florida going to let them come into Florida and rendition him.
Not at all.
And think about what happens if the federal government doesn't step into these operations. Into this, the ICE operations would cease. And outside of just this incident, right before this, they were already intimidating the police that same day.
Yeah.
And now after this, imagine what that environment is like. So the federal government has to step in.
Yeah, it would be open season on cops. You can just ram them with your car. Like that's the
Exactly.
precedent now. Is you can just, if you feel any pressure whatsoever from the police, just step on the accelerator and you'll get a Twins tickets the next morning.
J.D. Vance said, I want every ICE officer to know that their president, vice president, the entire administration stands behind them. To the radicals assaulting them, doxing them, and threatening them, congratulations. We're going to work even harder to enforce the law.
Based.
If the DOJ, the federal government, DHS, Vance, Trump, whoever you want to name, Christine Ohm, allows this cop to be prosecuted in Minnesota, ICE is going to quit en masse. And the Trump administration may as well resign on the spot because their agenda will never come close to fruition.
Yeah, I mean, that's reason enough why the Minnesota and the left would want to see him prosecuted because they know that it would destabilize the law.
And think of the narrative.
Law enforcement overall.
If, outside of the morality of who was right, who was wrong, if Minnesota says, here's my prediction. Jacob Frey and Waltz or anyone else, the DA, they're going to do a press conference where they say, we are not here to assert that this man is guilty of any crimes. We are here to say that there was an officer-involved shooting that requires an investigation. And based on the analysis of that investigation, a grand jury will choose to indict. They'll likely say a grand jury has returned an indictment for which now he can stand before a jury of his peers. They're going to approach it very neutrally. Trump cannot allow this guy to face the prosecution because he will lose no matter what.
Yeah.
Which means the Minnesota government and Democrats will then say, Donald Trump is shielding a murderer who killed a woman in cold blood. Other blue states will line behind that. This is a crazy situation because I don't see an exit for anyone other than this is how things escalate to state on state or feds versus state.
Yeah, I mean, it's one more step down the road, right?
But a big one.
This
is a jump down 10 of the stairs.
I don't know how fast things deteriorate, but this is definitely moving in the direction of deteriorating.
Well, the feds hold the cards. I mean, we saw it back earlier in 2025 when Trump just took the National Guard, federalized it, and then Newsom complained about it and said he was going to do everything he could, and then nothing happened. So the state's avenues towards retribution here is very, very limited. Like the federal government has all the cards here in this instance. This
My
is 100% their
understanding is
jurisdiction.
that I think there was a lawsuit filed. I don't know if it was by the government in California, but then there was a California judge that said the National Guard presence is illegal, and then there was another judge that saw it and overturned that and said no, it was legal. And I think they're still sorting it out in the courts.
They are.
But as far as it's probably if he said anything along the lines of I'm gonna use every single thing that I can do to resist it. It's probably saber rattling or whatever.
Yeah.
But I mean legally, slow and steady wins the race. So him doing anything other than waiting for the court to adjudicate it would just be LARPing, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you.
Because a state government's never going to be able to overcome the might of federal agents being deployed or the U.S. military or anything like that.
So let me ask you. So
Supremacy clause.
you believe there will be prosecution of the agent?
I don't know. I believe they're going to bring charges, but do you mean federal or state?
Well, that's what I mean. State level will bring charges against him.
Yes.
I agree with you. I think they will. The question is, as we've discussed, now I'll ask you, do you think the federal government will evacuate this guy and avoid the prosecution, or you think they'll let him get prosecuted?
I think this administration has shown that they will brazenly ignore the law. They'll ignore court orders. They will lie if they want to. So I would say it's in the realm of possibility, sure, that they would definitely try to stand behind this officer to the point that you're talking
prevent
about.
Prosecution.
But don't you think that would be wrong if they were trying to tip the scales that much?
But so here's the important thing. Let's set aside our opinions on the morality of whether it whether it's good or bad. But because I agree with you, I think they will bring charges. They have to, and I believe Trump will try to shield this guy from those charges and prosecution. So I think we're in agreement that whether it's good or bad isn't material. That's likely what's
He's
going to
a martyr.
So the question I have for you is, should this agent, say, go to Florida, where it's a very favorable state, Do you think that Minnesota should take any action to try and extradite him back to Minnesota for these charges, for this trial?
Yes. And I think whether or not Florida tries to like stand behind this person will come down to public opinion, because I don't think that Ron DeSantis is done trying to become president. So he is going to try to read the room and see, is there the political will for me to stand behind this ICE officer and basically do this come and take it shit and let him turn fucking Mar-a-Lago into his like fortress?
But let's get into the nitty-gritty. I mean, the only real action that Minnesota could take would be to send state troopers to Florida.
I guess so, yeah.
So
Unless there's other ways that you can extradite somebody from another state.
it's going to be by force, right?
Yeah.
So Minnesota, in any capacity, I'll try and avoid being overly specific due to like, my point is not to bring up the laws and the regulations of state troopers, but the point is, in order to get this guy out of Florida as an example of a friendly state, they would have to send people to forcefully pull him from the state.
Yes.
Like arrest him, put him in a vehicle and drive him there. Do you think they should?
Yeah, of course.
So that being the case, what do you think Florida law enforcement would do if Minnesota law enforcement entered extra jurisdictional territory to apprehend a man that is lawfully in their state?
I mean, I think it's going to be a staring contest, and I don't know if it's going to come down to what that individual precinct decides to do. I don't know if they're going to be looking to take orders from just people locally, or if they're going to be looking to Ron DeSantis and the state government broadly to see what they can do, what they ought to do. That's why I don't think that this is any sort of like principled action that would be a like plan that would come from Florida. I do think it's determined almost exclusively by public opinion and what they think they can get away with.
I agree.
If they see will among the base that, especially the conservative base that DeSantis is trying to pick up for 2028 or a run after that, then he'll stand behind the officer. If he sees public favor turn against him, then he will be like, we can't obstruct justice, or pretend like he won't say, I'm going to cooperate. He's just not going to tell them, get in the way of them being extradited.
So here's the thing. States never send law enforcement to other states for law enforcement. They use the feds for that. So typically what would happen is Minnesota would file with the federal government and local authorities and say, typically what happens is, because we're the United States, Minnesota would say to Florida, hey, this guy's pending charges. We want you guys to arrest him and then send him our way. In the circumstance where a state is like, we're not interested in what you're talking about, they go to the feds and say, interstate, crime, like this guy fled our state. He's guilty, like he's wanted for charges. The federal government's not going to intervene. Minnesota can't send anybody. That would be like, we're getting into war territory if Minnesota sends armed men to apprehend a guy in another state.
At very least,
No, 'cause
cross-state
you're-
border manhunts is just not an
Yeah,
optimal
no,
solution.
it
Because
doesn't happen.
Then you're
It's
just
not
waiting at the clock, because all you have to do is wait till the midterms or wait till, if Trump leaves office or something were to happen, all they have to do is wait for an administration to come along, somebody that's willing
If Trump
to
leaves
cooperate.
office.
Yeah.
If he leaves office, if he dies, whatever it is.
It's for the federal courts to decide. And so, okay, you escalate it to the Supreme Court, and then the precedent is, this gets hashed out of the federal court. So they'll just go back to the original ruling, which was like, no, you can't extradite.
But you also made another really good point about DeSantis' presidential aspirations, which means in the event, let's say the midterms happen, Democrats can get congressional authority and file subpoenas against this guy and others, and then make that move to try and jail him. The Republicans argue this is a circuitous method by which they're trying to get this guy on charges that are trumped up or whatever. The point is, DeSantis, if he has any political aspirations, cannot let... Again, hold on, let me pause. We don't know the guy would go to Florida. I'm saying hypothetical state is Florida because Florida is very favorable. In the event that happens, anyone with political aspirations would be thinking, if I allow this guy to be taken from my state, I will never get elected. Mm-hmm. But so now we're in very, very fucked up territory. Yeah. Like, we're there right now.
Yep.
So you would think it was wrong.
To extradite him?
Well, how do you feel about that?
I think states should not send personal state law enforcement to other states to apprehend individuals. I think that...
Even if the federal government won't comply?
Yes.
Okay. Do you think it would be right for the Trump administration to continue standing behind this ICE officer as there are pending charges that he's supposed to be facing in his home state?
We don't know this is home state.
Or in Minnesota.
Right. So that's one of the challenges too. If he lives there, it's a different picture. The challenge is now we're getting into the morality of when we would and would not allow action by government. Just because government has the power of law doesn't mean they're moral or right. And that's the lesson. Godwin's law. everybody learned from Nazi Germany. Just because they passed a law saying they could doesn't mean it was right, and they should have, and we should have allowed it. The question then becomes, should we as a moral people allow the prosecution of this individual, which is the moral question, which you say yes, and we would all say no.
You would say no,
This cop should not be prosecuted, no.
and you would think that was moral.
Yes.
Yeah, the correct thing to do,
quite
yes.
literally,
Okay.
we can't prosecute him. Like, and the only way to prosecute someone for federal action would be political.
No, I'm talking about morality.
That's what I'm saying.
Not-
So I'm
not
saying,
legally.
I'm just saying, like, even in the sense of morality, I'm like, oh, I'm not gonna like advocate for charging someone purely on political motivation. That's just
Right.
ridiculous.
Do you
No,
think
no,
it's
no.
immoral for the Trump administration to not want to work with the Minnesota state
I think it is the most moral thing they could do.
to politicize this?
They're not politicizing it. It is politicized. There's no way around it. It's political.
It is political, but they are
When political
obviously
activists-
furthering it.
So let me put it like this. The American people voted for these ICE operations. Immigration was a top issue, and Trump won, and the Republicans won everything. That doesn't mean everyone in the country agrees with it, but the American voter, democracy, has spoken. So Trump is now carrying out the will of the American voter, and the way it works is if you got a problem with it, you vote in the midterms and you vote in the next election. In the meantime, this is democracy in action. To subvert that, as the activists are doing, politicized what the American people voted for. After the fact, it just is political.
I think there's things in tension with that because, yes, Americans did vote for Donald Trump, and he obviously ran on mass deportation. So you were co-signing that policy, most likely, if you voted for him. But I think most Americans also care about the rule of law. They care about the Constitution. And so when they voted for that, they assumed that the mass deportation program would be carried out in conformity with the Constitution.
It is.
And there have been
How's it
multiple
not?
instances where people's due process rights are violated.
Who?
People are, what's her name? Ozturk, Mahmoud Khalil, Kilmar Abrego Garcia. These have been,
Hold
these
on.
were-
You cited two examples of constitutional movements.
Yeah, their due process. Like Kilmar
No,
Abrego
that's
Garcia
the-
was labeled a terrorist
No,
by
no, no,
the
hold
Trump
on.
administration before
What does
he
due
had even
process
been
mean?
found.
What does due process mean?
Due process means not having how do I put this into words? Due process is people being given the chance to make their case
Incorrect.
before
That's not correct.
well, hold on. Before you correct me, my understanding is that people's due process has to do with them being able to be given a fair shot if the state acts against them.
That's not what due process is. Due process is
Which is to say, make their case. It's brought to a
Yeah, that's not
brought
correct.
to a judge and a neutral who is a neutral.
due
third-party
process
mediator
is
or
not a
whatever.
proper noun. It's a generic term, literally meaning we can stop saying the phrase due process because people think it's a proper phrase, like a proper noun, like it cites law. It's literally just a generic phrase meaning the process by which a person has in law. That's
I'm
all
talking
it
about
means.
the Fourth Amendment,
What about the Fourth Amendment? Which one? Which part of it?
the due process.
Due process of law means in different circumstances, certain people are entitled to certain actions.
Yes.
Kilmar Abrego Garcia's due process. Or let's avoid him for the time being and talk about
Why?
the
He's the you asked me for an example. He's
right
a good example to go
and
off of.
and he had his due process.
No, he had his due process violated.
No, he did not. That's
yes,
incorrect.
he did. The Supreme Court said he ordered the
Okay.
Trump administration to
Yep.
bring him back because he had been illegally deported.
So
and he was deported in error, which the Trump administration admitted and then walked back.
this is incorrect. So we got to break all this down, okay? To avoid it's going to get clipped either way. An illegal immigrant enters the country through the southern border, right? Let's say a guy from Mexico crosses the border, runs full speed, 60 miles into the United States. What is his due process in this circumstance after he is apprehended?
That you are going to be told and read your charges, told and read your rights,
Incorrect.
and you're going to be given a court date
Incorrect.
and given the chance to make your
Incorrect.
case before
That's
a judge.
that's not what the law or the Constitution says. The process by which an alien is due, because due process is not a proper phrase, it's a generic phrase, meaning the word due literally means due and process literally means process. So we have executive immigration courts, and the judiciary has nothing to do with it. The process by which an illegal immigrant is due is called expedited removal. Non-citizens who enter this country illegally do not have the right to a jury trial or a court. Citizens
Yes, they
and
do.
resident aliens.
No, they don't.
That's not correct.
Yes, they do.
You are
because
incorrect.
The Fourth Amendment does not refer to citizens; it refers to people.
You
Yeah,
are
but you do-
incorrect. You-
Why am I
now- now,
incorrect?
on
Is
your-
that
on your-
not
on
what
your-
the Fourth Amendment says?
okay, that's sophistry. Okay, if I'm not, we're
Sophistry
not-
is when you cite the
Yes,
literal
'cause
words
we're
of the
not
Fourth Amendment and the
no.
Constitution.
You're doing it again.
When I'm talking
I
about
did
due
not
process,
say you are not correct on the language and definitions used in the Fourth Amendment. I'm saying
No,
you're
you
not
said I was doing
correct
a sophistry
on what
by
is.
citing the Constitution.
No, I'm saying it's sophistry to imply that the phrase people refer to aliens who run through our country across the border illegally, because it does not. Due process refers to, of your status, what you're entitled to.
Yeah.
This is what I'm referring to when I say due process.
Is a
the Fourth
a
Amendment,
court hearing.
The right of the people to be
Yeah.
secure in their persons,
No.
houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable
That's not
searches
due
and
process.
seizures shall not be violated, and no warrant shall issue, but upon probable cause supported by oath or affirmation.
That's not due process.
Particularly describing. Okay, what is your understanding
Due
of
process.
due process?
Due process refers to the legal requirement that the government must respect all legal rights owed to a person, ensuring fair treatment in legal proceedings. That doesn't mean that they get a trial. It doesn't mean that if you're
Immigration
here legally,
law, the Constitution, reserves immigration issues specifically to the executive branch. The immigration courts are not part of the judicial branch, they're part of the executive branch. And the law states that the Secretary of State has unilateral authority to remove any non-citizen at any point for any reason. So Ozturk specifically, it was the discretion of Marco Rubio under the law to say, your visa has been revoked. Thank you and have a nice day. And for that, she is being detained and deported. That is due process
sorry,
of law.
I've been talking about the Fourth Amendment. I meant to say the Fifth Amendment. Nor be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law. That's
It's
federal
due
due
process.
process
Yeah.
under
Hold
the
on.
Fifth
Who?
Amendment.
Who?
Any individual in which the state
What does it
acts
say?
against
What does it
them.
say?
Let me pull up the entire Fifth Amendment. Sorry.
Indeed, because it's important to know what it says.
when you say due process of law, it doesn't mean that everyone gets a court trial with a jury. It just
No
means the
person
proper
shall be
legal
held to
proceeding.
answer for a capital or otherwise infamous crime unless on presentment or indictment of a grand jury, except in cases arising in the land or naval forces or in the militia, when in actual service in time of war or public danger, nor shall any person be subject for the same offense to be twice put in jeopardy of life or limb, nor shall be compelled in any criminal case to be a witness against himself, nor be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor shall private property be taken for public use without just compensation. That is the Fifth Amendment.
And so now the question is, what does due process mean? Because you're citing the Fifth Amendment, but you're assuming due process means you get a court hearing. That's not true. There are many
How-
circumstances in which someone doesn't get a court trial, even if they're U.S. citizens, like if you're insane. They adjudicate your insanity by paperwork and administrative. It's called a 5150. You don't get to go to court over this. You're just deemed insane and locked up. That happens. Does that person have due process? Indeed. If you're exhibiting a threat to yourself or others through mental incompetence, defect, or otherwise, you can be 5150'd. You don't get to go to court. You don't get to ask a judge. It doesn't happen.
I'm not saying that the government can't take actions against you before it's all adjudicated in a court of law
What I-
or
what
it's
I-
been
what-
presented
what
before
we're
a
trying to
grand jury.
clarify for you-
I'm saying that if they do that, then you are able to open up a case against the government or
In
report.
some circumstances,
and it has to be in
some
conformity
individuals
with-
have some rights and some do not. So the way the Constitution works, in Texas, there was a big dispute over the southern border when the Texas State Guard were securing the southern border with concertina wire, and the federal government sent in feds to cut the wire and allow people to cross over illegally. The issue at play, the reason why Texas sent the immigrants to Martha's Vineyard in New York was because the Constitution grants full immigration authority and foreign relations to the executive branch. The judiciary has zero authority on instances of foreign affairs. When a person crosses the border illegally, it doesn't go to a judiciary. The reason why progressives have been saying judicial warrant over and over again is because what they're saying is, outside of the process of the Constitution, we want a court to make an argument against the executive branch.
How do you mean outside of the process of the Constitution?
The Constitution gives full authority on foreign affairs to the executive branch. So what we have are immigration courts, but these immigration courts operate under Trump, not the Supreme Court. That means immigration courts are not judicial hearings, nor does a non-citizen have a right to a judicial hearing. They go to federal executive immigration courts.
You still have due process rights,
No,
even in
because-
No,
immigration
hold
court.
on. You are correct. But
Even in-
due process is different from person to person. Due process for an American citizen is different for a non-citizen. So
I'm
what
not
we-
saying it's not different, but I'm saying that there
Exactly.
are minimum standards of due process that
Agreed.
are applied to every single
And
person
the
in
due
which the state acts
process
against
for an
them.
illegal immigrant is called expedited removal. That is, a federal immigration officer gets an order from an executive judge, not a judicial judge, for expedited removal of an individual. They don't go to court, there's no jury, and there's no banging a gavel. The officer can literally, and Obama did this to the tune of, I think, 3 million. They can literally grab the person, say, give me your ID, you're a non-citizen subject to expedited removal, that is your due process, and send them right back.
That doesn't. You think that I won't say that if that is true, that Obama wasn't violating people's due process rights? I would say that he is. That would just be
I would say
another
you're engaging in
example of
sophistry.
them. Why?
Because the Constitution makes clear that immigration is under the executive branch, and the process by which a non-citizen is due varies from expedited removal to refugee status hearings. And so what we've had is, under Obama, Bush, Democrat, Republican alike, an executive immigration officer can grant you your due process of, are you a citizen? No. Expedited removal. That's due process.
That is not under the purview of the executive. That
Yes,
is
it is.
a right that is guaranteed to every single individual within the interior
you're
of the
incorrect.
United States, or that the United States takes action against.
You're incorrect.
That doesn't hinge on whether or not the president feels like enforcing it.
No, you're incorrect. The immigration is the purview of the executive branch, and immigration courts are not judicial, they're executive.
No, I'm not saying that immigration isn't the purview of the executive branch. I'm saying that due process rights aren't a matter of if the administration decides to grant them to.
Your point on
people.
your point on the Fifth Amendment, right? You brought up the Fifth Amendment. That the act of being in the United States illegally is not considered a capital or otherwise infamous crime.
I got look.
So it doesn't
I think you're just generally not understanding the way the Constitution and the law works. So I pulled this up for you. It's hard to see if I zoom in like this. Yes, U.S. immigration courts are part of the executive branch.
Okay, I
This
didn't
means-
dispute that though.
Okay, but this means you're not getting a trial in a court. Immigration courts, they're called courts, but they're executive functions. You don't go before a jury or a judge for issues of immigration. This is not me making an opinion statement. When someone is not a citizen, the issue of immigration is the executive branch. They don't give you a hearing. They snap their fingers. Now, you can argue it shouldn't be that way, but this is because the Constitution gives issues of foreign affairs solely to the executive branch. So due process means the legal process under the Constitution by which you are due. If you are a foreign citizen who enters our country, that is the sole purview of the executive branch to snap their fingers
nothing
and
that
remove
you've
you.
said contradicts what I've said, because I already granted that due process looks different for every single individual.
Which would mean
because it does
Kilmar Abrego
depend.
Garcia got his due process.
No, he had his due process rights violated.
How?
He was sent to CCOT. He was not supposed to be removed from this country.
Says who?
He had, because he already had a stay of removal.
He had expedited removal, indeed.
No. He had something designated on his own immigration.
Okay, look.
We can totally pull this up.
Here's the real challenge we're facing right now. You don't know these
Garcia.
stories, and you're basing it off of
I
conjecture
can't
and
recall
activist
all
opinion.
of the details
I
accurately.
know,
so
I
let
can.
me pull up.
Kilmar Abrego Garcia had an order for expedited removal, but it was stayed because they couldn't remove him to send him back to
He's a
Guatemala.
Salvadoran man living in the United States, was illegally deported on March 15, 2025.
Okay, what are you reading?
By the Wikipedia, by the U.S.
And then
government.
Wikipedia is not a real source.
Under the government. We can go to the primary sources that they
Indeed,
link.
you should. You should read the court documents from ICE. Because I'll just...
Under the Trump administration, which it called an administrative error, which you disputed.
No.
You said he wasn't deported.
An administrative error is not a
in
violation of due process.
At the time, he had never been charged with or convicted of a crime in either country. Despite this, he was imprisoned without trial in the Salvadoran
God.
Terrorism Confinement Center, CCOT.
Oh, liberals are fucking retarded. I can't do this. I fucking give up.
You want to respond
Why
to what
would
I
he
just
get
said?
a trial? What does a trial have to do with an expedited removal in a state to Guatemala? You don't know this stuff, and it's so impossible for me to give you a book, a 300-page understanding of what happened.
He
But the
has the
problem is I have to
right.
deal with people like this who don't know, don't read, and then vote on it. And no matter how many times, I say it 500,000 times, pull the documents and prove
Because
it.
he wasn't just removed to that country. He was also then placed in effectively a gulag or torture
Which
dungeon.
branch has authority?
He was also then
Which
placed.
branch has the authority?
I'm not disputing that
Okay,
this
just
falls
answer the
under.
question.
I'm not disputing that this falls under the executive.
So why would he get a trial? You read a thing that claimed he didn't have a trial. It's a
Because
lie and
they were
manipulation.
not just trying to deport him illegally to a country that he was
Oh
not
my
supposed
God.
to be removed to, but they were also trying to imprison him, even though he hasn't committed or been, he hadn't.
The United
been
States did
committed
not
any
imprison
crime.
him.
No, we just deported him illegally. Correct.
What? No, incorrect.
We deported him illegally,
It's-
and
you're
then
just
he was
saying
in
things.
prison and confined at CCOT, which is a torture dungeon.
Oh my God.
He was.
You read a bunch of activist AI slop garbage. Believe it and don't
So
fact
you don't
check.
think that CCOT has prolific human rights violations going on?
Trump,
might-
Trump sent him to
It's
the
a foreign
gulag.
country. I
You
don't
said
care
I
about.
just read a bunch of bullshit
Okay.
that made me think
you
this.
literally
so you're just,
on
but
your
you
phone
just, said
read a bunch
it
of
might.
AI slop garbage activist stuff.
Wikipedia
let's
is
start this.
AI slop.
Let's
activist
start
shit.
this.
stuff.
You read
stuff.
that he was illegally deported without a trial. I am asking you why he would get a judicial hearing when immigration is the purview of the
No,
executive
I said
branch.
he was imprisoned without trial.
Indeed. Why would
Okay, but
why,
you just
why, why
so
do
you
we
just
care about El
mischaracterized
Salvador?
what I just said.
So do we run El Salvador's courts?
No, we don't.
Then why would we write that he got a trial or didn't? It's not related to the executive branch. It's a foreign country.
He was removed to that country specifically.
Is it his home
and then
country?
Confined. I don't. It doesn't matter.
You don't know,
because
do you?
He was not.
Did he have a
supposed to
stay
be-
of deportation to El Salvador?
No, I can't remember.
He did not. It was Guatemala. This is the insufferable thing. You've taken a strong position on something you just don't understand.
So what does
And
that
you-
matter?
The executive
He
branch
was not
has
supposed
sole
to be-
purview for deportation.
He was not supposed to be sent to that country, correct?
No.
No, he was supposed to be sent to that country?
Yes, he had an order for deportation. The stay
He
was for
had-
Guatemala. And the Biden administration and Trump, through his own failures, didn't do it properly.
Why
The
was he supposed to be sent to that country
He had an order for immediate deportation.
from the Trump administration? You think that
I
was
think
right?
That if the State Department wants to deport somebody, they can, yes.
I'm not asking if they can. I'm asking if you think it's right.
In the specific instance of Kilmar Abrego Garcia, was it right for him to be deported? The answer is yes.
And it was right for him to be imprisoned at CCOT.
I am not El Salvador. What El Salvador does is beyond the United States
You don't have to be El
borders.
Salvador. Just answer the question. Was it right for him to be imprisoned at CCOT?
If he is if El Salvador finds him to be a criminal, yes, 100%.
So yes, you're saying yes, it was right for him to be imprisoned there.
That's it. So if El Salvador finds that their own citizen should go to prison, that's their business.
But he hasn't even been found to have. been
That's
accused
not
of any
us. We are
crime.
not El Salvador.
You don't have to be El Salvadoran
Yes,
to
you
have an
do.
opinion on this.
My opinion is El Salvador can conduct their affairs as they see fit, and if they determine he should go to prison, he should.
But they didn't determine that. He was just
Yes, they
put
did.
there.
They did. They put him in prison
He was just put there.
because El
without-
Salvador decided he should be.
Yeah, but did he have a fair trial?
Does China have fair trials?
I didn't ask if China has fair trials, and that's completely irrelevant.
I
Did he
don't
have a
care
fair trial?
if he had an El Salvadoran fair trial or not. I'm not El Salvador,
So-
nor do I think the U.S. should invade El
So
Salvador or
you
Venezuela.
don't know if he had a fair trial, and yet you'd
He
be
did
fine
have
with
a
him
fair
being
trial.
imprisoned.
He did have a fair trial.
Okay,
Yeah,
he
El
did have a
Salvador's
fair
policy
trial.
is very clear. Anyone with gang affiliation is going to get in prison in CCOT, and he was
That's
found
their
to have
law.
gang affiliation. That's their law.
What was the gang affiliation that he was found of?
Trinidad Aragua.
It's actually they accused him of being part of MS-13.
Was it? He's also.
But he was never credibly found. Like, do you remember
by
when
who?
Trump,
By who?
the Trump administration was
It
saying
was
that
wrong.
those photoshopped
Huh?
MS-13? Yeah.
And because Trump thought
You just said that
paintbrush-
he was in Trinidad.
Oh, I
but
got
there's
it wrong. I was wrong about that.
Yeah. Okay. So
No.
what did he do then? What crime did he commit?
That's up to El Salvador to decide.
Okay. He's not a member of MS-13 though.
I don't care.
That's-
I literally
that's their
don't care. He's not
policy.
American either.
So you
And
don't
if
care
a citizen of El
if
Salvador,
somebody is imprisoned in CCOT, even
No, I
if
don't.
they've
No.
not committed a crime, and even if they've not been given
I literally
any
could care
due
less.
process of law or had
Yep.
a trial.
He was here illegally. I don't care.
No. We're not talking about it. We're talking about El Salvador. For the same reason, I don't think we should remove Maduro. I don't give a fuck what El Salvador does with their own citizens. I am not El Salvador. I don't want to invade El Salvador. I don't want to impose American hegemonic democratic principles on El Salvador or Venezuela or Afghanistan, Iran, China, or Russia. So right now, what I can't stand is this argument that El Salvador imprisoned a guy. I don't give a fuck what they did. He's El Salvadoran in El Salvador. China's imprisoning Uyghur Muslims and raping them and forcing them to get abortions. That's miserably evil. We can say we don't want to do trade deals with them. That's fine. The U.S. went in and removed Maduro, and liberals are furious about it. Yet at the same time, they're arguing that we should impose American hegemonic principles on El Salvador. I'm sick of it. My principles are pretty dang simple. I'm American. I don't give a flying F what El Salvador, China, or these other countries are doing with their people. I can have moral opposition to it, but I'm not going to demand that we send our military or use the weight to force them to change their institutions. That being said, I think we can sanction China over the rape of the Uyghur Muslims. We shouldn't be trading with people that brutally rape women and force them to get abortions. We can make an argument that we should cut off our trade deals with El Salvador because of CCOT. My point ultimately is,
But so if you only care about what the American government is doing,
Hmm?
then do you agree that he should not have been sent there?
he is not an American citizen. And as someone who is not an American citizen, he should go home.
But that is
He
an
doesn't have
American
legal status
government.
here. He doesn't have legal status here. He came here illegally, and there is no obligation for the American
So you
people
don't
to allow a
care
criminal to be here.
where or how the United States government deports individuals.
Absolutely not.
You don't care if their due process rights are violated. You don't care if the government lies
So you're
about
making
them.
There
things
is
up
a
now.
You don't
process for
care.
which
We already
for them
covered
to
the
asking.
enter, though.
I'm asking
So
if
let's
you
be
care
very
about
clear.
those things. No. I'm asking if
Agreed.
you,
Let me
you
be
don't
very
care
clear.
about those things.
If someone comes here from China illegally, they violate our laws and then seek to subvert the will of the American voter, they should be arrested for the crime they committed. And you know what it is? Imagine if someone broke into your house and the worst thing you did to them was give them a ride home. And then it's like a stupid thing to argue. Like a guy broke into my house and is stealing my food. And I'm like, hey, whoa, would you like a ride home? So that's what we do. A guy comes here from El Salvador illegally. We issue an order for deportation. We send him home. Then everyone's going,
An illegal
"But
order because he was not supposed to.
it
be
was a
deported.
legal order of deportation, and he had a stay for removal from the country of Guatemala due to a rival gang. Where this goes is very confusing and weird because the argument was made in the media that he had a stay of deportation to El Salvador when in fact it was Guatemala. Now, some have argued it was a typo in the initial stay, but I'm like, well, if that's the case, when we read it says Guatemala, so he can be sent back to El Salvador. Now, the issue of the administrative error was actually disputed in the Trump administration with Stephen Miller saying no. As he is a member of MS-13 executive purview on matters of national security.
He was never found to be a member of MS-13.
He was found by a court, yes, twice.
Which court?
There's an immigration courts that asserted 2 times that he was wearing MS-13 gear.
Making an assertion is different than them actually having evidence that he was part of MS-13.
He doesn't get judicial trials in an immigration executive branch court.
Do you acknowledge that it's 2 different things between actually proving that somebody is part of a gang versus somebody making the assertion that they are?
What does that have to
evidence?
do with what we're talking about?
Because
you're changing the subject.
You just said that this person is a confirmed member of MS-13.
An immigration court
and you said that was
found that
to
he was a member
case.
of MS-13.
You said they asserted that he was. That's
Indeed.
different than them finding that he was.
Because there's no trial for this in the executive branch. Executive is action, not judiciary.
And this was the other thing. This is Supreme Court says
Trump
officials should
this
help
is absolutely
return
fake.
wrongly deported Maryland man. The Supreme Court has ordered the Trump admin to facilitate the return to the U.S. of Kilmar Abrego Garcia, a Maryland man who was mistakenly taken to El Salvador
Maryland man.
and
Yeah,
remains in custody there.
He's not a Maryland man. He's an El Salvadoran who was illegally living in Maryland.
So if you live in Maryland for 10 years, you can't be considered part of, like, a Maryland man.
No,
Not
but the
if you're here
language is
illegally.
being used to manipulate the general public because the real issue
So you
is
agree that
a
he
man
could be
from El
considered a
Salvador
Maryland
came
man?
here illegally, had an order for removal, argued that he'd be killed by a Guatemalan gang, got a stay of removal to not go back to Guatemala. Stephen Miller and the Trump administration argued that an immigration court, twice having found him an affiliate of MS-13, he was an entry-level guy. They were going to deport him back to his home country. Then when he got there, El Salvador decided that because they thought he was a member of a gang, they imprisoned him.
Even though he
The
wasn't,
Supreme
even though they have
Court-
no evidence of that.
It doesn't matter what El Salvador thinks. We're not El Salvador. That's it. End of story. I'm not going to make an argument about what Ghana thinks or what
underlying
Zimbabwe
evidence
thinks.
that's being used to say that he's gang affiliated. He's part
You are
of
just saying things to be
MS-13,
tribal.
And you're saying that because we're not in El Salvador, we can't have an opinion on it. Obviously,
No,
we
you can have an opinion on it.
but
But,
it's like-
you're asking me about, do you believe that the U.S. should assert judicial authority over El Salvador?
How do you mean?
Do you think that we should force other countries to adhere to our frame of law?
It depends on the context.
What? Okay. Should a...
I do believe that we should not be deporting individuals to countries where they are going to face ridiculous human rights abuses.
Going to prison is a human rights abuse?
Yes. If you have never
Going
been
to prison is a
if
human rights
you-
abuse?
When you have not been actually found guilty of a crime, when you've not actually committed any crime, when you've not been given
No,
a
no,
trial,
you're asserting
when
things
your
as true that we've
process
not
rights are
determined.
violated, then
You
yeah, that
don't
would be
know
wrong.
that okay.
You don't know
we got,
that
we
he's
got to pause
done
real quick
anything
because you
wrong.
keep saying due process, but
And
you
then
don't know
this
what it
is the
means.
other thing. In a brief
You
unsigned
don't know what
decision
due process
issued
means.
Thursday,
You keep saying it because
the court sided
this
with
is
the
what
district
happens
court
when
judge
liberals
who
read
had
a
ordered
passage
Abrego
but
Garcia
don't know
back
what
to
the
the
words mean.
U.S. The order properly requires the government to facilitate Abrego Garcia's release from custody in El Salvador and to ensure that his case is handled as it would have been had he not been improperly sent to El Salvador, the Supreme Court said in its ruling. It was a 9-0 ruling.
And?
Even Trump's appointees agreed that
and
his
they're wrong
rights
quite
had
a
been
bit.
violated.
That's okay. We are in a state of political adjudication with back and forth. The dude's got 2 more pending removals. Now he's going to Ghana. Or where's he going? Eritrea?
One of those.
I mean, like, the amount of things on Kilmar Abrego Garcia are ludicrous, right? The amount of...
I agree, but not for the same reasons.
Yeah, liberals are defending a guy who's not a citizen, and they're lying about it. They repeatedly, and don't get me wrong, conservatives are fucking
what
retarded
liberals
too.
are defending is people
Republicans
being
come out
able
and go,
to not have their due
non-citizens
process rights
don't get
violated.
due process, and that was never true. They're just dumb. Okay? Due process means under law, you, in your circumstances, what are you due in the courts that they must adhere to? Immigration courts are part of the executive branch, and the executive branch does not have trials for these people. A judge just said, goodbye. Judicial courts can have trials or bench hearings. Liberals don't understand any of these things. And more importantly, I would say the proselytizers at the highest level just say whatever they have to justify their ideological whims. The point is, America should be America and should not be enforcing its will on other countries. And if you are not from this country, the State Department has sole discretion to remove you from this country. End of story. Even permanent residents under the law can have their permanent residency revoked in finger snap by the Secretary of the State. So this whole argument is fake. And it started with a conversation around him having his due process rights violated.
You're defending
because
this even
liberals
though
think
the
due
Trump
process
admin-
means a jury trial.
I
You're
have a
defending-
question for you though. But so you don't
But
think
really-
that someone
wait,
entering the
really,
country?
Really quick, I will answer your question.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that the Trump administration had admitted that they had made an administrative error in sending him to El Salvador to CCOT. And you are
Let's
even
pause,
going,
wait,
and then
pause
they
real quick,
and then
pause
they
real quick,
retracted that.
Pause real quick.
And you're going
They
further
retracted that, right?
to defend all of
They
this.
retracted that?
Okay.
They,
ask your
no, hold
question.
on. They retracted the administrative error statement?
Yeah, they walked it back because they're trying to cover their ass.
What exactly did they say in the retraction?
Trump administration admits Maryland man sent to El Salvador prison by mistake. The Trump admin is getting blowback for confirmed and potential errors in its rush to deport hundreds of men to El Salvador last month. On Monday night, immigration officials admitted to deporting a Maryland man to El Salvador due to a quote-unquote administrative error. Kilmar Abrego Garcia, who lived in the with his U.S. citizen wife and child, was identified as being on one of the 3 deportation flights to El Salvador last month that are the subject of several lawsuits. Immigration advocates claimed those flown to El Salvador did not receive due process. The admin used the 3 flights to quickly deport over 300 men accused of being members of MS-13.
I'm not trying to interrupt you, but just because I want to just get to the point, it's what did they say in their retraction?
Look,
Let's find the
I
retraction.
mean,
So I'll tell you. It was an administrative official, not in the highest level of the cabinet, who said there was an administrative error here. That was a singular statement by a low-level official. Probably about a week after this, the highest level of Trump's cabinet said they were incorrect. We have asserted executive authority on national security issues for expedited removal. That is our purview. Now, by all means, this is to be adjudicated. And right now, the Kilmar Abrego Garcia thing is the most convoluted bullshit of a story imaginable because he's got like 5 orders of deportation now, including to like literally, is it Eritrea? Or was it Ghana? What ridiculous country? I don't know. It's just like
It was a JV one. It was a JV country.
it's just a ridiculous thing. The point is, we are not dealing with functions of the Constitution and law, which was the initial argument you asked about constitutional deportations. We are dealing with hyper-partisan justifications.
Yes.
And the liberals making an argument about due process in foreign countries, and the right making an argument about national security threats. One thing remains. In the truest sense of what this law was codified to be and written down as, due process in immigration courts does not involve a judicial hearing, judicial warrant, nor jury or bench trial.
Okay, so
Immigration courts are a singular executive official identified as an immigration judge, but they're not judicial, stamping something and saying expedited removal. End of story. That is due process.
So, in
Eswatini
its court
and
filing on
Uganda.
Monday, the Trump admin said ICE was aware of his protection from removal to El Salvador, but still deported Abrego Garcia because of an administrative error. An ICE official called his deportation to El Salvador an oversight in a statement submitted to the court on Monday. Robert Cerna, ICE's acting field office director of enforcement and removal operations, wrote that it was carried out in good faith based on the existence of a final order of removal and Abrego Garcia's purported membership of MS-13. The admin argued against his return to the U.S., citing alleged gang ties and claiming that he is a danger to the community. They also argued that the courts lack jurisdiction in the matter because Abrego Garcia is no longer in U.S. custody. The admin wrote that Abrego Garcia's attorneys, quote, do not argue that the United States can exercise its will over foreign sovereign. The most they ask for is a court order that the United States entreat or control a close ally.
Now
So-
please read the retraction. Can you read the
I should-
retraction? Can you
no,
read the
I
retraction?
should retract my own claim because
No,
they
no.
actually did not issue a retraction.
They
But
did!
what they did, as far as I could
I'll
tell,
pull
no,
the
it
video
doesn't
for
seem
you.
like. I thought they had. It seems
They-
like what they did is just double down on defending their decisions, even though they had admitted it was an error.
Do you think the State Department reserves the right to deport any illegal purely for being here illegally?
I believe so, yes.
Yeah, because it's like that's part of the problem with the Abrego thing is it's like
But there are legal means to remove people from the country.
right.
They don't need to violate people's due process rights to do so.
So if we're able
If
to
somebody
deport,
is a gang,
Due
if it's a
process.
terrorist, it should be easy to remove
So
them
you
from
were
the country
wrong.
legally.
They did. You're right the first time. They issued a retraction, DHS.gov. This is just one of the examples of an individual that as an MS-13 gang member, multiple charges and encounters with the individuals here, trafficking in his background, was found with other MS-13 gang members, very dangerous person. And what the liberal left and fake news are doing to turn him into a media darling is sickening. The retraction here in this video from Stephen Miller was that he said, let me see if I can pull up the actual, Tricia McLaughlin reaffirmed the MS-13 terrorist gang member is where he belongs. I think this illegal alien. I have the video.
Sounds like the opposite of a retraction. That's
It's a
what I was saying. I
retraction.
shouldn't have said that they retracted it. What they did is defend their decisions.
Very low-rated anchor at CB.
Thank you, President. Do you plan to ask President Bukele to help return the man who your administration says was mistakenly deported? The man who was mistakenly deported to El Salvador?
Well, let me ask Pam, would you answer that question?
Sure, President. First and foremost, he was illegally in our country. He had been illegally in our country. And in 2019, two courts, an immigration court and an appellate immigration court, ruled that he was a member of MS-13 and he was illegally in our country. Right now, it was additional paperwork had needed to be done. That's up to El Salvador if they want to return him. That's not up to us. The Supreme Court ruled, President, that if, as El Salvador wants to return him, this is international matters, foreign affairs, if they wanted to return him, we would facilitate it, meaning provide a plane.
So will you return him?
And you are doing a great job. Thank you. Stephen Miller, wait a minute.
Stephen
Can
Miller.
you just also respond to that question? Because, it's asked by CNN, and they always ask it with a slant, because they're totally slanting, because they don't know what's happening. That's why nobody's watching them. But would you answer that question also, please?
Yes, gladly. So, as Pam mentioned, there's an illegal alien from El Salvador. So, with respect to you, he's a citizen of El Salvador. So, it's very arrogant even for American media to suggest that we would even tell El Salvador how to handle their own citizens as a starting point. As two immigration courts found that he was a member of MS-13. When President Trump declared MS-13 to be a foreign terrorist organization, that meant that he was no longer eligible under federal law, which I'm sure you know, you're very familiar with the INA, that he was no longer eligible for any form of immigration relief in the United States. So he had a deportation order that was valid, which meant that under our law, he's not even allowed to be present in the United States and had to be returned because of the foreign terrorist designation. This issue was then, by a district court judge, completely inverted, and a district court judge tried to tell the administration that they had to kidnap a citizen of El Salvador and fly him back here. That issue was raised to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court said the district court order was unlawful, and its main components were reversed 9-0 unanimously, stating clearly that neither Secretary of State nor the President could be compelled by anybody to forcibly retrieve a citizen of El Salvador from El Salvador, who again is a member of MS-13, which, as I'm sure you understand, rapes little girls, murders women, murders children, is engaged in the most barbaric activities in the world, and I can promise you, if he was your neighbor, you would move right away.
So you don't plan to ask for it?
So the point is, initially, an ICE official said that it was administrative error. The Trump administration cabinet said after the FTO designation of MS-13, that disqualified him from the immigration stay to Guatemala that he had.
They had no evidence to be even
Doesn't
designating him as a terrorist. It doesn't matter if they don't have evidence before they label
They have
somebody a terrorist.
two courts ruled that he was MS-13.
So it doesn't matter to you that they had no evidence that he was actually part of MS-13.
Courts.
What
It
evidence
doesn't matter
did
what
they
you're
have?
saying.
What
Two
evidence
courts
did they
ruled he
have that
was.
he was part of MS-13?
He was associated with known MS-13 gang members outside of MS-13 gang
So
territory.
just by knowing somebody within
in and around
MS-13
together.
means that you are part of MS-13 yourself?
Do you think if two courts rule that you are, that's enough or not enough?
I'm sorry, you didn't answer my question. So just knowing somebody in a gang, that means that you are also part of that gang.
He was in the gang.
You said that he is associated. I said, what's the evidence for that? And you said, well, he associated with people
courts
in.
found that he was wearing
But
their
I'm
gang colors,
asking
wearing their gang
you.
clothes. He was known by informants to be what's the term? His rank? Do you remember? Let me pull it up.
He was a lieutenant.
And it's been so no. He was it's a provision area. It's a Spanish word. Let me figure out what the there's a word for the lowest level, and is this it right here? I think I got it. Was it? No. I am not a robot.
Checo.
Was it
C-H-E-
Checo?
Checo.
Yeah. He was a Checo in MS-13, meaning he was like a probationary entry-level member. Two courts found this. I don't understand. I got it. Okay, let's just roll with it.
So.
The point is this: we
What
have
is the
immigration
evidence?
courts for a reason. Let's see. Member of Princess George County. This is the arrest report, I think. Which one? This? Yeah, Chico. Chicao. He was a Chicao known as Maniaco and MS-13 in their sailors clique. Let's see. Officers interviewed with Jose Guillermo Domingos. During the interview, officers observed tattoos and skulls covering the eyes, out of his mouth. Blah, 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 blah. See no evil, hear no evil, say no evil. He also had a tattoo of a devil on his left leg. This presents power with an MS-13 officers made contact with a past, proven, and reliable source of information who advised
If they claim
Dominguez, the officer,
was
that
indicative
he's
of the Hispanic gang culture.
an active MS-13 gang member with the sailors clique, the rank of Chicao, and the moniker of Maniaco.
Wait, that was his buddy.
And that
So if you
wearing
write
the
on next
Chicago
paragraph-
I know, I'm
Bulls
still
hat
reading.
represents that
This is
they are a
2019.
member in good standing with MS-13. That's
Officers
their
then
evidence.
interviewed Kilmar Armando Abrego Garcia during the interview of officers. He observed he's wearing a Bulls hat and a hoodie with rolls of money covering his eyes, ears, and mouth of the presidents on the separated denominations. Officers know such clothing to be indicative of the Hispanic gang culture. The meaning of the clothing does represent ve oír y calar. See no evil, hear no evil, say no evil. Wearing the Bulls hat represents that they are a member in
The
good standing
Chicago
with
Bulls
MS-13.
hat.
Officers, I did say Chicago Bulls. Wearing the officers contacted a past proven and reliable source of information who advised Kilmar
this is
Abrego
the evidence
Garcia
that he's an
is an
MS-13.
active member of MS-13 with the Westerns clique. The confidential source further advised that he is the rank of Chicao with the moniker of Chele. Officers interviewed Jason Hozu, is that how you say it? Ramirez Herrera during the interview. They were unable to determine his gang affiliation. Officers know MS-13 gang members are only allowed to hang around other members or prospects for the gang. Officers will continue, blah, blah, blah. The point is,
So no testimony,
there exists evidence.
no criminal history.
What do you mean? There's two
and
witness
no
testimony included in this.
corroborating
Like, you're just
evidence
making things up at
that
this point.
he's
This is
wearing
fake. It's just
certain
fake.
clothes that they're trying to say is synonymous with MS-13
So what?
Hispanic gang culture.
Is that evidence?
No.
Yes, it is. Is it proof? No. Is it evidence? Yes.
Oh, sorry, that's what I should say.
Right. And you
Is
asked
it
before if there was
evidence?
evidence.
Yes.
You said
Is
there was
it
none.
good
Now there
evidence?
is.
No. Is it evidence? Yes. Is it good evidence? No. Is it proof? Absolutely not.
This is why we can't have nice
the
things.
evidence is that he wears a Chicago Bulls hat and has skull tattoos. You know
No,
that
he
the
has
Chicago Bulls
he has the
are
see
a
no evil,
widely
hear no
popular
evil, say no evil
basketball team.
tattoos.
And that means that he's in a gang.
That's an MS-13 gang tattoo.
So if you got that tattoo tomorrow, that would mean you're an MS-13.
No, but it likely is affiliation, especially if you're hanging out
So
with
it would-
MS-13
and
gang
so-
members.
Like
okay,
all of
so
his
then
boys are an MS-13.
You said
but
no,
him.
but it would,
He
you
got
said
gang
no, but it
tattoos
would
hanging
be.
out with MS-13, but he's not a member.
No, they kicked him out. Yeah, he's like,
But he's
dude,
still
yeah.
friends.
Yeah, you're a little too
so,
into the
but
Bulls.
if you got
It's
it,
weird.
it wouldn't be
Did
evidence.
you know that if you
you're
wear
an
black and gold in
MS-13.
Chicago, you'll get shot?
So if you had that tattoo, it wouldn't be evidence that you're an MS-13.
It would
right?
be evidence, yes.
Just
Evidence and
but
proof are two different
because
things.
Right. I
Uh-huh.
agree with you.
So you said before there was no evidence.
In this case, you're saying
There
it's
is
evidence and proof that he's an MS-13.
No,
That's the claim that you made.
No. Let's just be clear for everybody to make sure we're closing things up.
Yeah, you
Before
think that
you
wearing
said-
a Chicago
let me
Bulls
finish.
cap and
Before
having a
you said
tattoo
there was no
can mean that
evidence.
you're an MS-13.
Let's try and be clear here.
Yeah, I said there's no evidence, and then
Please
I
stop.
and then
Please
I
stop so I
clarified,
can make the point.
And I said it's
Please,
it's
let's
weak
be clear.
evidence. Yeah.
Before you said there was no evidence, and perhaps that was a misspeak, but now we recognize there is
it was
some
it was a
evidence.
misspeak. Sorry.
Okay.
The-
Now,
it's
just hold on.
extremely
All right,
weak
just
evidence.
Two
want to
immigration
call it that,
courts
sure.
determined the evidence was sufficient to prove he was a member of MS-13. Right?
Do you agree with them?
Doesn't matter.
Do you agree with them? Yes or
Yes,
no?
but it doesn't matter.
Why do you agree with them? Because of his clothing. That's
law
it?
enforcement
Even
found
though
an
again,
else.
no criminal history, no testimonies.
What do you mean no criminal
corroborating
history?
this.
He was caught trafficking people.
No.
He's on
He's been
camera doing it!
accused- He's been accused of trafficking individuals because he was stopped. There was a traffic stop.
Uh-huh.
There
He had
were
a bunch
other
of people
individual
from Mexico driving to Maryland that they said they were doing for work.
And he has been, yeah, but he's not been, that's still
Oh, so
being
okay,
hold
adjudicated.
on.
He's not
Again,
actually
let's
been
just
found to
stop.
have
This
human
is, again,
trafficked.
off
And if
topic.
that's your standard for human trafficking,
No,
then
you're changing- let's
Greg
stop- let's
Abbott
stop
and
changing
Ron
the subject.
DeSantis moving those illegal immigrants
Let's stop
around the
changing the
country
subject.
to Martha's
Let's
Vineyard,
stop
that is also human
changing
trafficking.
the subject. Did two courts find him to be members of MS-13?
To my understanding, there's court documents that have been submitted, and this is the evidence that he's an MS-13.
Did two courts rule him to be?
No, I don't believe so.
You are wrong. They did. Two courts did.
No, court documents being
No,
submitted
judges
saying which
said
judges?
he is, and then he appealed, and another judge said yes, he is.
Which judge?
Okay, let's pull it up. My God, sophistry. DHS.
I found it. The judge who presided over his 2019 case said that based on the confidential information, there was sufficient evidence to support Mr. Abrego Garcia's gang membership. That finding was later upheld by another judge.
Okay, so do you agree that two judges found to be members of a member of MS-13?
Yes.
Okay. Then, based on the FTO designation,
But based on
that
the
supersedes
evidence,
the stay from CSIS.
Based on the evidence that has been presented to the public,
He can appeal
that is
that.
a very but that's a very if his due process rights are honored.
no, hold
but
on.
that's a very tenuous connection, in my opinion.
No, hold on. So now that two judges, actually it was an appellate judge, I believe it was 3. So it's initially 1, then 3. After they found that he was, and then maybe they were wrong. Okay, this gives the federal government the authority to deport him under the FTO designation, which is what Stephen Miller asserted. He then gets sent to his home country. There's no appeal after that. What El Salvador does with their own citizens
He was deported in error.
No, he
so
wasn't.
we led to the
God.
circumstances where he could not.
He was not in error because I already showed you Stephen Miller pointing out that that was an ICE official and they were wrong, and under the FTO designation,
So if
they
Stephen
could
Miller
deport.
says something, that
Yes.
means that it's true.
Because Trump declare MS-13 a foreign terrorist organization?
Yeah, I believe so.
He did, and under the INA, you can remove. There's no immigration protections. You are disqualified immediately upon that designation because immigration courts are executive, not judiciary. When that happens, they say the executive stay you were granted by our officials is hereby void, and they can deport him, and that's what they did.
So you think it's fair that he's deported in an error, and then after
was not
he's
deported
removed
in error.
to an
He
after
was
he's
not
after
deported
he's deported
in
to
error.
another
He
country,
was not
then we
deported
say
in
we
error.
no longer have jurisdiction, even though he shouldn't have been put there in the first place. And then the Supreme Court says that's correct. He needs
See, this
to
is
be
why I
brought
say you're
back.
just a liar.
Why am I a liar?
We've
What have I
already
lied about?
concluded it wasn't an error.
No,
You
have
said two
that.
judges confirmed he was MS-13, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And MS-13 is an FTO, foreign terrorist organization.
The Trump administration designates as such. Correct.
The Immigration and Naturalization
Although
Act
I will say
allows
that
for the disqualification
drug cartels
of a stay.
as foreign terrorist organizations is a bit strange to me.
If you want to argue the law should be changed, take it up with Congress. Don't then say it was an error when we've already shown you under the law it was not.
What am I supposed to take up with Congress?
That you want the law to change. The INA says that a foreign terrorist is disqualified from immigration reprieve.
Do you think it's correct that he's designating cartels as foreign terrorist organizations?
Do you support
That's
cartels?
an opinion and immaterial
Is that
to
what I
whether.
said?
No, I'm asking.
No,
But
I don't
this is
support
an opinion
cartels.
question immaterial to the conversation we're having.
So you think that it's correct to designate cartels as foreign
We
terrorist
are not
organizations?
talking about that. We're talking about whether Kilmer Abrego
But can
Garcia
you just
was
answer that
lawfully
question?
deported.
Can you just answer that question if you think it's correct that MS-13 was designated a foreign terrorist organization?
Don't know.
You don't know? Why
Don't
not?
know. I don't know. I don't know enough about it.
Okay, but that is the
Don't know.
basis that's being used to deny this person due process under your argument.
I don't
That
understand
Trump
why, no matter how many
administration
times
said
we
this is a
explain due
forced
process,
terrorist
you don't
organization.
understand what it is.
Trump administration says this is a
Did
foreign
Kilmer
terrorist
Abrego
organization.
Garcia get 2 court hearings?
There were 2 judges that reviewed evidence that said that there's sufficient evidence to say that he is part of MS-13,
Is that
which
due
he
process?
disputes and his lawyers
Is that
are
due
currently
process?
adjudicating.
Is that due process?
Yes, I'm not saying
Okay,
that he has
we
not
agree.
been. He has not.
So he had
had
his due
Any
process.
no, you can have due process violated in one area and then honored in another. That's not
So
contradictory.
2
whatsoever.
courts find him to be a member of MS-13.
Back in
the
2019,
the immigration courts are under
Tim,
the executive branch, not
Tim,
the judiciary.
that was back
the
in
executive
2019.
branch then designates MS-13 and FTO. Then that nullifies an executive stay to deportation to Guatemala that he had. But they didn't send him to Guatemala anyway. They sent him to El Salvador. After the fact, it's up to El Salvador what to do with an El Salvadoran. Sounds like due process to me.
Due process is when you deport someone in error, which you dispute.
We
but
just
they
agreed
admit-
it wasn't an error because
No.
you said he had 2 courts. What was the error?
In 2019,
What was the error?
In 2019,
what was the error?
he was
What
found
was the
to
error?
have been.
What was the error?
The error is that he was not supposed to be deported to that country.
Guatemala?
To CICOT.
To Guatemala, you mean?
To El Salvador.
No, the stay was for Guatemala.
CICOT.
The stay was for
That
Guatemala.
doesn't mean that he was supposed to be deported to El Salvador.
The stay was that he couldn't be sent to Guatemala.
Can you hear me? I said that does not mean that he was supposed to be deported to El Salvador.
They can deport him. They can deport him to any country
I'm
they
not
want.
saying that they can't deport him. I'm saying
So
that
how is
he
it an
was
error
not supposed to be.
If the stay of deportation was to Guatemala and he was sent to El Salvador, what's the
He
error?
was sent to a prison in El Salvador.
No, El Salvador imprisoned him. We didn't send him there.
This is what I mean, where it ends up being a lot like
We
they
are not
create
El
the
Salvador.
circumstances to
We're not El Salvador.
justify itself, which is that they
What
put
was
him in
the
a
error?
situation where he is
What was the
deported to
error?
El Salvador and imprisoned there,
What
and
was
then
the error?
we declined to have jurisdiction.
What was the
Well,
error?
the Supreme Court said 9-0 that he was not given adequate due process rights to make a claim against the government once they had been trying to imprison him, even
What
though he
was
had not
the
actually been found
error?
guilty of a crime.
What was the error?
That he had not been found guilty of a crime yet.
No.
Nonetheless, he was imprisoned to an El Salvador
That
prison.
wasn't the error. You said he was deported in error. What was the error?
The error is that he had a stay of removal and he was not supposed to be
Except
deported.
the stay of removal, according to the INA, is disqualified upon foreign terrorist designation.
But you
If
already,
you want to change the law, take it up with Congress.
Earlier in this, you would not say that you think it's correct for drug cartels to be designated as foreign terrorist
I said, I don't know.
organizations.
I don't know.
But that's the
You
basis.
know why I said that? Because
is
you're changing the subject.
That's the basis.
You're changing
no,
the
it's part
subject.
of the subject. It's part of
If
this.
I
That's
want-
the basis for you saying that he ought to be deported.
If you want to change the law, take it up
Committed a
with
crime
Congress.
by coming here.
Take it up with Congress.
That's where it
Congress
starts.
changes laws. Right now, the INA says the president has the authority to designate an FTO, and if you do, your reprieve, immigration reprieve, is disqualified. That is all in the law. There's no error there.
And you think all of that's correct?
It's factually correct.
You think all that's moral?
Morally correct is take up the law.
So you
The
think all
question
that's moral?
you this is ad hominem.
Really
right?
quick.
Ad hominem.
How is that an ad hominem?
I'm just going to say that every time you do this. The question is, was there an error? And we've concluded the answer is no.
There was an error. Just because Stephen
What was the
Miller
error?
says that there was no error, do you want me to reread it again? I can reread it again.
It's like you're intentional, like you're agreeing with everything, but then failing to connect the dots.
So do you want me to reread it again? Or
Reread what? Your post hoc, out of context statement? We've already concluded that Trump did designate the cartels foreign terrorist organizations. You asked me a moral question on it, which I ignored because it's not material to the question of whether there was a functional administrative error, to which the Trump administration
What's a functional administrative error?
An administrative error that causes to the function of immigration. And there wasn't one. There wasn't. The FTO nullified the stay to Guatemala, which he wasn't sent to anyway.
So you do realize that Stephen Miller saying that doesn't undermine that, again, ICE calls deportation an oversight in its court filing on Monday.
Stephen Miller saying
Trump
it was the
administration
retraction I told you they made,
said
not
ICE
an
was
assertion
aware
of law.
of his protection from removal to El Salvador, but still deported Abrego Garcia because of an administrative error.
It's like
An ICE
when you-
official
when you-
called
when
his
you-
deportation an oversight in a statement submitted to the court on Monday.
And then they retracted it, which I showed you. Stephen Miller's statements aren't law. It's evidence of the administration retracting a statement from an ICE official at the highest levels.
They
The
targeted
cabinet
him for
saying-
deportation and removal, even though
Well, he already
it doesn't
was.
seem
That was a long time ago.
they
He had an
targeted
order
him
for deportation years ago.
and removal. but
Years ago.
Obviously,
Then he
had-
was granted
had
a stay.
right?
He was granted a stay after the
Right.
fact of deportation to Guatemala, which means he could have been deported anywhere. And under the law, he was supposed to leave himself. So there's no error. But I think you're just saying these things because it's political tribesmanship.
But you think this is all moral?
Well,
See, that's a totally different question.
moral, yeah, the
I
Do
know,
you
moral
it's
want, do you want to
different.
end
Can
the
you
previous
answer it?
conversation and go to the next one?
You can answer the question first.
All right, so let's just do this. Previous
Do you think it was
conversation is
moral?
concluded. Now let's talk about whether or not it is moral to deport non-citizens. 100%.
Do you think it was moral how Kilmar Abrego Garcia was treated?
Yes.
Yes.
It was actually the utmost of morality, and
Even though he had not actually been.
it's a different conversation.
Why? So how is it unrelated?
You already
to this?
granted that being here illegally in and of itself is grounds for deportation.
When did I grant?
When I asked you, is being here
Oh, wait,
illegally in and of itself grounds for
I'm
deportation?
saying I said that the government has the ability to deport anybody at any time, correct? But that does not mean that they can't come up with ludicrous reasons to deport someone, in my opinion.
Doesn't matter.
But
But
not
the question I was
ludicrous.
going to ask you before was, why wouldn't someone like Kilmar have gone through the process the right way? Are you okay with him not going through the process and just coming here illegally?
No, I don't think it's good that people come here illegally.
Then we
But
can
I'm
deport them
but
with
just
impunity.
because no, we can't.
But wouldn't
deport
that be
with
the first
impunity.
crime? Wouldn't that be the first problem?
No.
Before everything else that you guys were just debating?
No, because the reality is that just because you commit a crime or you come here illegally or you cross a port of entry illegally, even though the majority of illegal immigration is a result of people overstaying visas, it's not even because they're illegally entering into the United States. It means that they had legal means to come into the United States and then something expires, they're here legally. But if they cross a port of entry illegally, that does not mean that the state can do whatever they want in response to that.
The state has the Secretary of State has total authority to deport people. Yeah, absolutely.
No, I didn't say that they don't have total authority. I said that they can't do anything that they want.
Yes, they can.
In the process of doing that.
When you have total authority, you can say, okay, we're just going to send you out. Absolutely.
But you're portraying it like we are throwing them in a gulag, which is not what's happening.
You don't
We
think
literally
Sikat's a gulag?
It's
We
not
didn't
us.
put it
It's
there.
El
This isn't
Salvador.
putting him there.
And
We-
also,
we
and
keep
for the record,
rehashing
We
the same stuff
facilitated.
over and
We
over.
we
And for the record,
literally
there's
put him
90%
on a
approval in
plane.
El Salvador,
We put him
so-
on a plane
Right.
And then he was immediately landed in El Salvador and then transferred to that prison.
If he knew that the gulags were that bad, then maybe he should have gotten his paperwork done.
He landed in El Salvador,
you're
and then
acknowledging though that he was put on a plane by the United States government,
and they put him in
and then
prison.
put in an El Salvador prison. And you're saying that that's not the United States government.
He was deported to El Salvador.
Are you saying that that's not the actions of the United States government doing that?
Putting him in a gulag supposedly that's nothing to do with us.
Even though our plane took him to the El Salvador prison that he was imprisoned in.
The plane took him to San Salvador.
It took him to an airport.
And then El Salvador's law enforcement.
Where custody was exchanged.
So were it not for the United States government flying him to El Salvador and then him being transferred
immediately. If we deport someone to Uganda and they get by a line, that's on us. Like, what are we doing?
This isn't an argument. This is not an argument. Custody was transferred to El Salvador, and El Salvador put him in prison.
Facilitated his imprisonment in El Salvador in C5.
No, they facilitated his transport and then the changing hands of custody. The United States facilitated the transport to El Salvador. They then gave him to the authorities in El Salvador. Then the authorities in El Salvador
so we
put him in prison.
cooperated with them to imprison him.
We didn't. It doesn't matter where he's going. It doesn't matter. No, we cooperated. They cooperated with us by taking him when we transported him.
Oh, so it's under our jurisdiction then?
We sent him. No,
because
he was
they
under our jurisdiction.
With us.
You're
saying it's under our jurisdiction.
He was under our jurisdiction, and we deported him to El Salvador.
Correct.
Then
I'm saying
custody was transferred to El Salvador, and they put him in prison.
And we cooperated with that to help facilitate that imprisonment.
We facilitated getting him out of the country. If you want to say that we did, I don't care. I don't have the same. I don't have the same kind of moral hangups that you do. I
clearly
don't mind.
Not. I clearly find this to be morally reprehensible, and you're clearly
so there you go. This is the whole point. The whole point of all of this is her to be able to say, "I'm a good person. You're a bad person." If you want to call me a bad person, I don't care.
Did I call
think
you
the
a
guy
bad
should have been
person,
deported.
Or did I say that we have a difference of
you
beliefs?
Said morally
and I said
reprehensible.
You defend something that's morally reprehensible.
You are saying that it's morally reprehensible.
You do realize that somebody can defend something morally reprehensible.
You've been dying for this argument to be about good person, bad person the entire time. That's why you keep switching between the legal argument and the moral argument. All you want to do is sit there and say, "See, I'm the good person and you're the bad person." This has been the entire show. It's absolute trash.
If you don't care about my assessment of whether or not you're a good or bad person, which I never even spoke to, why are you getting so mad about it?
Because this has all been a BS argument. It hasn't been an actual genuine debate about anything. You've been trying to steer the conversation into a situation where you can say, "You're the good person," or you're the good person and I'm the bad person, or whoever you're arguing with. Because this isn't about law or rule of law or whether or not someone should be deported.
What's it
because
about?
You've already said, "Oh yes, these people should be deported." You've agreed to that.
I said they can be deported. I didn't say they should be deported. That's a different
Well, I
argument.
imagine you don't think anyone should be deported. But
no,
anyways.
I never said that.
That's why I said I imagine. I didn't
I'm
say that
saying
you said that.
To the extent that I believe
that's
some
my
individuals should
impression.
be deported, there are lawful means to remove them from the country.
And you've agreed that all of the lawful means have met. All of the lawful standards have been met.
No.
It's the Patrick meme.
Yeah. I don't know what to tell you.
You're trying to say that the United States was not involved in the imprisonment of this man in an El Salvadoran prison.
The El Salvadorian authorities put him in prison. The
But
United
we
States,
cooperated
the United
with them.
States deported the man.
And we cooperated with El Salvador to put him in that prison.
Well, again, like I said,
Yes,
this is all driving the conversation. So you can say, look, this was a morally wrong thing to do. And you can say, "See, I'm the good person because I have."
I happen to think it was immoral, but the major
That's the
thing is that
only
it's
thing that
illegal.
matters today. That's the only thing that matters is your perception of morality. I think it's
no,
moral
I also
to
care
get
about
him
the
out
rule
of the
of
United
law
States.
and the Constitution.
If you cared about the rule of law and the Constitution, then we wouldn't have had all of this switching from legal talk to moral talk. If all you cared about was
that you can walk and chew gum at the same time, you can care about two things at once.
so
right?
then why
you
did you
care
say that you care about
morality and legality?
then why did you just say that you care about the rule of law and the Constitution?
Because those are not mutually exclusive.
The whole point.
Do you acknowledge that it's not mutually exclusive to care about the Constitution, the rule of law, and morality?
It is mutually exclusive. If you talk,
so you can only care about one or the other.
If you are talking about the rule of law, there are going to be times when the rule of law is going to do things that one person might consider immoral.
Well, Phil, just so Phil,
that's a descriptive claim.
Don't even grant her framework. When we exchange custody in San Salvador, whatever El Salvador's business is their business. Like we're not facilitating that. It's just the reality.
So you don't consider us putting him on a plane flying him to El Salvador
That's
and
standard
making
deportation
sure
procedure.
that he gets
that
it's
is
standard operating procedure to put somebody on a
that is
flight,
the process of
Yes.
deport them to
deportation.
El Salvador, and imprison them.
That is the process
It's
of
standard
deportation.
to put them on a
Oh
plane
my
and drop
God.
them off in San Salvador. Yes, that's the only international airport in El
And
Salvador.
where he's imprisoned.
If
After.
El Salvador deems him as a member of MS-13, I'm not going to go and like invade them over it. I mean, it's like whatever. And this is like 90% of
not
people
even
there
complaining
anyway.
about
you
it.
think that that's not the United States facilitating? That's just you just morally discharge it and legally discharge it all to El
Yes,
Salvador.
because again, if this was like seriously this moral injunction, and he was like, "Oh my gosh, they're going to unjustly put me in a gulag," then he probably would have gotten his paperwork correct.
he wasn't even supposed to be put on that plane in the
He
first
wasn't even
place.
supposed to be in the United States.
He wasn't supposed to be in the United States at first. I mean, it's just like we're rearranging chairs on the Titanic. It's like popular mandate to deport all illegal immigrants. I mean, it is what it is.
I think the most important thing, though, is just that he was never barred from being deported to El Salvador. I pulled up the old court document from 2019, and it was over Guatemala. And this is like the crazy thing
So
about
if they
this.
deported him to just
They-
any country, it doesn't matter. Even if it's
He's an El
not,
Salvadoran citizen.
even if it's not a home country, you defend it.
He's an El Salvadoran citizen. He went home.
Okay, so would
He
you
went home.
defend him being deported anywhere?
Did he go home?
Would you defend him being deported anywhere?
No, I think he should go home.
So
He
you
went
wouldn't
home.
support him being flown to France, for example,
know.
and then imprisoned there.
I don't know. It didn't happen.
If you cut, I mean,
He went
yeah.
home. And the
Just,
court said
so
he could
because
go to
it didn't
Guatemala.
happen, you can't engage with the hypothetical.
It's because you're changing the subject.
Why?
Because I have a court document that says he was barred from going to Guatemala, which he didn't go to.
You're
Read it.
suggesting
Read it.
that
Read it.
you're
Read
suggesting
it.
that
Unless there was a change in circumstances in Guatemala that would result in the respondent's life not being threatened, or that internal relocation is not possible. Therefore, the respondent's application for withholding under the act is granted. This stated we couldn't send him to Guatemala. And the weird thing is, everyone in the media has just said El Salvador over and over again. And I have this post from
so
Kaneko
you're
the Great.
suggesting that
which,
you would be uncomfortable if he had been deported to a
are you
third
changing
country.
the subject again?
You'd been
Kaneko the
suggested
Great
that he
says,
would
anyone
be
explained why
uncomfortable if he
Kilmar
had been
Roberto
deported
Garcia's
to a third
deportation order
country.
stopped him from being sent to Guatemala, but allowed him to be sent to El Salvador? The judge explicitly cited the ongoing threats from Barrio 18 in Guatemala, stating at present, even though the family has shut down the pupusa business, Barrio 18 continues to harass and threaten the respondent's two sisters and parents in Guatemala. DHS has failed to carry out their burden to show that there are changed circumstances in Guatemala that would result in respondents. So the order of deportation required him to leave. And the problem really here is that Trump sucks and Biden sucks, and everybody screwed it up, and it became a political issue. Now liberals are pretending like they've got some moral high ground, and you've got a convoluted nonsense story where you're asking me about other countries. He went to El Salvador, but was barred from going to Guatemala. I don't know what the error was.
You're not going to distract me from asking my question again.
An unrelated
So,
question? We can change the subject if you
Does
want.
this
So-
circular reasoning
it's
exhaust
related.
you at some point?
So based on what you've argued, because you're like, he's just being sent home.
Yeah, he went home.
That's what's implicit in that to me is a suggestion that if he had been deported to a third country, not El Salvador, not Guatemala, maybe Somalia, you would be uncomfortable with that.
I don't know, maybe.
Can you answer yes or no?
Why does it matter?
No, because I don't know.
He wouldn't have the right
I
to
have
be in
no
the United
strong
States.
feelings on it one way or another.
So he could have been deported to torture prison in the Sudan. You'd be okay with that?
No, I don't know.
Why not? Why can't you speak to that?
I don't have enough information on what those countries are like and what it would look like.
Are you
I'm just
talking about, like,
I
so
just don't
So
have
if
much
it
to say on
was,
it.
so there's it could
I
if it
don't
was
feel
bad,
strongly.
you wouldn't be
Tim,
okay
wouldn't
with
you be
it.
angry if he was deported to the sun?
I don't know.
Are you're talking about like the Rwanda scheme?
People
I mean,
are
you're
not-
laughing
not
to avoid
names.
engaging with the
No,
hypothetical
no, because
because
we
I
don't
think that you
care.
know.
I
I-
don't know how I would feel on a thing that didn't happen. And it's fine to ask hypothetical, but my answer is literally, I don't know. I don't have a yes or no answer for you because these are different countries. The fact remains, he was barred from going to Guatemala. He went to El Salvador. He's home. What his home
So
country
if the
does
Trump
with him is not my
administration
point,
had
not my problem.
deported him to Somalia and a prison there, you would be okay with it?
No,
No,
I don't know.
you don't know.
No, I
Why
have
not?
no strong feelings one way or the other. It's immaterial
I'm
to
not
what
asking if you
happened.
have strong feelings. I'm asking if
You're asking if you.
you just really can't engage with the hypothetical, and that's fine.
I can engage with the hypothetical.
No, you're refusing to because you're
No,
saying
I'm not.
I don't know.
I gave you an answer. It's I don't know.
No, the I don't know is the cop out.
No, it's
No,
not.
it's
That's how he
not.
really feels.
I don't have strong
No.
feelings.
I'm,
It's
I'm in the middle.
100%
It could be
legitimate.
bad. It could be good. I'll have to see.
What would you need to see so you could make a decision? We can load
The
it into the
circumstance of the
hypothetical so you
deportation, the
can.
stay of deportation, the actions taken, the plane, the prison, the politicians involved.
So
It's
if it was like
complicated.
a Boeing instead of like a different kind of plane, maybe you'd be in support of it. Maybe you wouldn't be.
Maybe not, because if like the prison had, if like the plane had like uncomfortable seats and they had them in a box or something, there's a lot of circumstances here. All I can say is,
But then,
it's
that
hard.
wouldn't ultimately.
It's hard for me
that
to
wouldn't
assert.
change your answer. That you
one-
just say, oh, he should be deported, not in a box in a plane.
You
but
just meant that I don't
ultimately,
have an
he
answer
can be
for you.
deported to the
You
plane.
just meant that I
or
literally
to
don't
a different
know.
country.
Sometimes people don't know things. Sometimes I don't know is an okay answer.
I'm only saying that you're refusing to engage with the hypothetical.
But I
in a
did
substantive
engage with
way.
your hypothetical.
in a substantive way because you're saying I don't know. I don't have enough information.
So
there's all of these circumstances that would change
Like
it with
what?
that.
So give me one.
Yeah, you just said the plane. You just said,
Yeah, there's a
oh, I
bunch
don't know
of
about the
things.
plane. I don't know if he would be uncomfortable. I don't know about the
Right.
prison. You said the prison would be a matter. But to me, that
Like-
suggests that if he was deported to a third country where he had no relation to, and there were grave human rights abuses in a prison that they wanted to send him to in this third country, you would be against it.
I
Is
don't
what
know.
you're suggesting, or that it would at least be bad, is what you're intimating, but you won't say either way.
Because I genuinely do not know. And I'm not going to lie to people to pretend I have strong opinions on something that I don't understand.
It's hard for you to understand a to give a straight
Yes.
answer to a hypothetical like that.
In this context, yes.
Okay.
Yep. Sometimes I'm wrong and I'm not smart enough to understand what that would look like, and I'm not going to make assumptions. So I
I
just
think
don't
you're
know.
plenty smart
All-
to engage with this hypothetical, and you're
And,
just
and I
being
did.
obstinate.
I did. I don't know.
Sorry, substantively engage.
But
It's also manipulative to
yeah.
force an opinion he doesn't have.
Yeah.
How am I forcing an opinion?
Because he
Because
just told
keep
you his
saying that by
answer.
saying I don't know, I'm refusing to engage. The only answer I can give you is I don't know.
I think
I
you're,
don't know what Somalia looks like. Is there a CCOT in
think the
Somalia?
answer is that
How
you
are
would
Somali
be-
prisons? Are they good? Are they bad? Are there accusations from liberals of
The
human court
CCOT
abuses?
ones are bad, and you don't seem to care about that.
Because
The
El
El
Salvador
Salvador-
has an El Salvador citizen. Somalia does not have an El Salvador citizen. See, they're different.
So
I don't
because he's
know.
a citizen of a country, they can treat him however they want.
It's their country. Should we invade El Salvador?
So why do you care about human rights abuses if it came from a different government that's not his? But
Yeah, to be completely honest, I don't.
okay,
What do you-
so
what do
then
you
why
mean?
is it difficult for you to answer the hypothetical where he's deported to Somalia?
He's not Somalian.
I know that. I'm saying,
Uh-huh.
why is it difficult for you to answer the question if you don't care about human rights abuses from other countries?
Because I don't care in the sense that I would assert law over them, but I care in the sense that they're bad. And so the issue of a person
They're bad,
being
but
sent
you
to
can't
a
say it
third
would be
party
bad
country.
for him to be sent to a third country.
Yeah, there's circumstances I don't understand.
You realize the Trump administration is trying to do that, right?
I do, yeah.
Trying to send him to a third country.
Many of them. We talked about already, like Ghana and Eritrea and a bunch of other
And
countries.
Eswatini, yeah, and how do you?
What was the other?
do you
What was the other
support
country?
Eswatini?
Rwanda.
Was it Rwanda?
Rwanda's like the classic scheme.
It was Sudan, wasn't it?
Rwanda's been like
I think it was
the
Sudan.
third country
Like
scheme for
all
the
of this is
longest time.
convoluted hubbub nonsense where everyone
Algeria.
who has no idea what's going on is trying to assert an opinion. I got no problem saying I don't know about that. All I know is he's from El Salvador. He went to El Salvador. What El Salvador does with their citizens, I'll put it like this. Okay, you know what? I give up. You're right. Let's invade El Salvador and shut them down. Should we?
Does
what do
that
you think?
follow from what I said?
Well, they're engaging in human rights abuses without due process. So let's send in the troops.
So you're saying yes, but it doesn't follow from El Salvador having human rights abuses that the only solution
Should we
to
stop
that
the
would
human
be
rights
to invade.
abuses?
Yes, but that's not
Okay, how do we do
through
it?
diplomatic means.
Diplomatic means like what?
You can introduce sanctions against their country to try to pressure the governments to act in conformity
don't listen?
with human rights. Then you can try additional mechanisms. We
Like
have
what?
embassies in these countries where we can communicate with foreign dignitaries.
No, I'm
You
saying
can
like, but what if
you can
sanctions
make
don't work?
appeals to the UN.
What if
So-
sanctions don't work and they keep doing it?
So pretty please. Just-
I'm only
just be like,
answering your
"Pretty
question.
please."
I know,
What
I'm
are we
asking
supposed
you
to do?
another-
Short,
Sugar on
You
top?
asked me, what are we supposed to do short of invading them? And I'm giving you different avenues. And now you're saying,
Agreed.
what if they don't
Like
work?
Venezuela sanctions
And
didn't
I'm not
work.
saying that they are guaranteed to work. I'm saying there are
Okay.
different ways, objectively,
So let's
than
talk
just
about-
invading a country
Let's
to
talk about Venezuela real
pressure
quick.
them.
Sanctions didn't work on Venezuela. They kept trading oil with sanctioned countries, and they were sanctioned. So should we just let them keep doing it, or should we invade Venezuela?
You realize it's a false dichotomy that you've presented, right?
What's the false dichotomy?
That it doesn't have to be one or the other.
The invasion or the sanctions?
Yeah, no.
All right. So do you have a suggestion for what we do beyond the sanctions failing?
There's other diplomatic means. Am
No,
I
I'm
able
asking
to
you for some.
articulate what they could be?
You don't know?
No. I'm just saying that I'm sure there exists any number of different actions we could appeal to the UN. We could work in
What can the
coordination
UN
with
do?
other
They're not UN
countries.
countries.
I'm only answering that there are more options than just sanctions and invasions. Do you agree with me?
Yeah. There's.
I don't. What do you mean?
We can say pretty please.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Offer them a steak
But
dinner.
I'll clarify because I think it's fine to say that if we send in like frogmen to pull someone from their home or execute them, that's an invasion. Like, I think it's, the poly market's not paying out Venezuelan invasion because they argued that we didn't capture territory.
Oh, really?
But like we did. We took the Venezuelan compound to secure him. Just because it was for 90 minutes doesn't mean it wasn't an invasion. So the argument is, how does the U.S. does a variety of things to take over a country. We do first economic incentives. We'll make you rich. If they say no, then we try to manipulate them politically. The first economic incentives things does involve sanctions. Then there's political manipulation, like we've seen in like the banana republics or the efforts we've made in Iraq and Afghanistan with nation building. Is not a great example, but Ukraine is probably a better example. The Euromaidan movement, before it became full-blown war, the U.S. was funding activist groups to foment support for the EU. When that doesn't work, we then go for assassinations. And if that doesn't work, we then go for full-scale militarized invasion. So that's the playbook for how it went with Saddam Hussein. And it was because he didn't want to trade oil in dollars. He wanted to trade in euro. And Muammar Gaddafi wanted to trade in gold. That's the scale of things that we do.
Did you support the Obama admin's Libya intervention?
Absolutely not. And I think Barack Obama was a scumbag who murdered children and American citizens, and he's a war criminal and should be arrested. And Trump doesn't get any special passes for me because he was accused of killing another American girl, the sister of Abdurrahman al-Awlaki in Yemen. Now, that one is an accusation not yet confirmed, and I think we should have a trial and a hearing over it, though it's been 10 years. The Obama killing of Abdurrahman al-Awlaki is admitted to, confessed to, and they said whoopsie daisy. So if you want to confess to the murder of an American, you get locked the fuck up. So anyway, I don't think the U.S. should be killing Saddam Hussein and invading under false pretenses to enforce the petrodollar. I don't think that we should have gone and removed Maduro, though I think Maduro's a bad guy, and they are wholly different things. The
Even
issue
if
then
Anwar
comes.
al-Awlaki was affiliated with a terrorist organization?
Abdurrahman al-Awlaki?
I'm sorry, I can't get the name right, but that individual, even if they're affiliated with a
Abdurrahman
terrorist
al-Awlaki
organization.
was not, no. He was a 16-year-old from Boulder, Colorado, visiting his family in Yemen. He was
Oh,
at a
wait,
civilian.
I'm not talking about it was like an additional casualty that was incurred as a result of this. I'm talking
No.
about...
Abdurrahman al-Awlaki was directly targeted, and the restaurant was blown up, and he was killed. And when asked about it, they said, we thought there was a different target at the building.
So, if they're part of a terrorist organization, is that okay?
Depends.
That we did that?
Anwar al-Awlaki was an American citizen. And
But he was part of Al-Qaeda, no?
Perhaps. He was argued that he was a proselytizer of Al-Qaeda, and he was actively engaged in war with us in a war zone. That's tough. I still lean towards they should have had a criminal trial for him in the United States before killing an American citizen. But it's fair to say that when you're actively engaged in war, look, if someone's running at me with a gun, they get shot. Doesn't matter if they're an American citizen or a Uzbekistanian or whatever. So Anwar al-Awlaki was killed in a drone strike. He was an American citizen who wasn't given due process. No charge, no trial. They just killed him. The argument they made was he was an active enemy combatant, proselytizing for our enemies in enemy territory. And it's like, well, we aren't at war with Yemen. So why are we bombing Yemen? He's just a foreign guy preaching things we don't like. There should be a trial for him. Now, Abdurrahman is wholly different. This was an American citizen who committed no crimes, who was part of no terrorist organization, who was visiting his grandparents in Yemen at a civilian restaurant when Obama blew him up. That's criminal. Obama should be in prison for that. He admitted to it. As administration said, we thought it was a different target. Okay, we call that manslaughter. Okay, we call that negligent homicide. If you point a gun at a guy and shoot him and say, I thought that was a murderer, we say, well, you killed an innocent person, you go to jail for that. Anyway, we are well over and we do need to wrap up, but I do want to give you the opportunity to put your final thoughts in and take the final word.
I don't have any additional final thoughts. Had a good time talking with all of you guys and debating throughout the afternoon. My name's Aaron, aka @straight_online. I live stream basically Monday through Friday, politics, react stream. So come by; it's always a good time. And thank you for having me on.
Thanks for coming too. And I appreciate you handling the heat in the kitchen. I know we're all kind of against you, but I do think it was great to have you.
It's fun for me.
I do want to apologize to the Discord members in the backstage that we didn't go through your chats or whatever because I lost my mind. But now we're 12 minutes over and we're out of time because we have limited time today. That's why we're pre-recording. So do you want to shout anything out before we go?
Yeah. So you guys can follow me. I'm mostly on X at RealDefender45. But I will remind you all that it is important to get involved locally because a nation where its citizens don't show up can be lost, and so we need to act.
Amen.
X and Instagram at RealTapeBrown. Go follow me there.
I am Phil the Remains on Twix. The band is All That Remains. We're going on tour. We're going to be in Albany on April 29th, and we'll be on tour for 3 weeks after that until just about the end of May. We're going out with Born of Osiris and Dead Eyes. You can check out All That Remains music on Apple Music, Amazon Music, Pandora, Spotify, YouTube, and Deezer. Don't forget, the left lane is for crime.
I just want to say again, too, that it was great to have you, and you can tell it was a good show when we go over, and it's just like, we
You don't even
missed
notice. Just time flies.
Yeah, I know. I want to keep going because I'm having fun and I think it's important, but we're supposed to have a hard stop. So everybody, thank you all so much for being members. Thanks for watching the show. We're back, of course, on Monday. We got exciting stuff in the works, and we will see you all then.